Hey friends, my name is Aaron Ciotti. I'm still plugging batteries in. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. I'm plugging a couple of batteries in so that we have something to test on the Bubito if we can finish it up here on the stream tonight. That's one of the main things that I want to do is get this little Bubito build that Brandon's Baked Beans very kindly sent over because he wasn't looking to do that as a build. So yeah, let's, I'm willing to dive back into non-ducted 1.2 or 1.6 inch rigs. I think Brandon just said in the chat that you can do the middle prop size. So 1.2 inch props, that's standard 65 millimeter tiny whoop, 31 millimeter. And then there's 75 millimeter motor to motor tiny whoops, which are a 1.6 inch prop. I think that's 40 mil. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's 40 millimeter. And then there's a prop size in between, which is 35 mil, which is what Betaflight put on their Meteor 65 Pro frame. So yeah, Brendan says, did I mail you 35 millimeters? I can't remember if I did. You did not, but I have a bunch, so it's all good. So yeah, that's kind of the plan tonight, is to work on that thing. We're also going to be going back to a BLV3 on the heavier tiny lifter. I think I'm going to do that first, actually, because that's a little bit of an easier win. And I would also like to switch the camera out on the little RC drift car chase rig. This currently has a Newbie Drone BI camera, which is completely fine, but I want to try a PAL camera on this. And I'm pretty sure that the camera that I had on this Ultimate Racing build when it was together, I'm pretty sure this is a Foxier Pico Nano PAL. And what's nice is I've already cut the connector off of it. This build has a T-motor 5-amp 1S AIO on it, which does not have plugs for the camera. You have to direct solder the camera on. So yeah, kind of lucked out here. I hate cutting the connectors off of these things. It's not the end of the world because you can just resolder directly to the back of the camera, but a lot of times they gloop a whole bunch of liquid electric tape on the back of the camera where the wires go into it, and it's just kind of a nightmare to get off of there. So yeah, this kind of works well. I'll swap this camera over to this guy. What I also think is going to be nice about this is that this camera has like a thicker body to it. And what I think that will do is I think that'll sit flat on the Fractal 65 base plate and give me zero camera angle. A zero up tilt, rather, which is what I want on this little thing. It's hard to fly with zero up tilt, but for chasing drift cars, zero up tilt, or at least very low up tilt, is a really interesting thing. If you guys have ever seen Gavr's, GAVR's, drift car chase footage, one of the reasons that it looks so insane, I mean the main reason is that the dude is just an incredible pilot, but one of the technical reasons that it looks the way that it looks, which is like different than everybody else that's ever chased a drift car, is that it's very low camera angle, and that allows him to do some really cool, really aggressive camera movements. And yeah, I would like to emulate as much of that as I can with these RC drift cars because, you know, it's for fun. There's no reason not to crash a million times. And yeah, just go for it. Try to make crazy shit and then post it on Instagram and everybody will follow you. That's 2023, isn't it? So yeah, those are the plans for tonight. I think we'll do the tiny lifter first because I really want I want to get the tiny lifter ready for the night that the drift car folks hang out at this local place. It's Thursday night, so I want to try to get this stuff done for tomorrow night. That's sort of the plan. In the chat, not West, just Wes was first. McMucus, Borks, Monty FPV, Northern Tier, Nani, Flush FPV, Brandon's Baked Beans, Northern Tier, Ryan, Rockcrawler, Brandon again, Arizona, Ryan, Rob Axelson, Rockcrawler, Ryan again, Eric Moe, Tommy Newton, June Loco, McMucus again. Let's leave it there. If you want the Gangly Man just to read out your name, you got to come into the chat early. You got to say something or other. If you want to talk directly to me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do that, it'll light up on orange, and I'll know that you're talking to me. This is my full-time job. If you like this kind of stuff, head on over to CiottiFPV.com, and there's a million ways that you can support me. Look at this article that I found from Oscar Liang from years ago, July 7th, 2020. Best 2-inch and 2.5-inch propeller shootout. I completely missed this, and this is a really, really well done article here. So the reason why I found this is related to the AOS Cine 25 and the QAV Pro builds. So these are 2.5 inch, sub 250, cinematic-ish builds. Metal Dirt, holy hell, Metal Dirtskin with a $50 super chat. Stop everything. We're gonna look at that one. Metal says, I just got the offer for a new job. My good fortune is your good fortune. Very cool, dude. Congrats. What is it? What is it? Tell us. Tell us what the job is. Damn, man. Thank you. Super, super, super generous. Good Lord. So, yeah. With these guys, I have powertrains, motors, and batteries and, you know, propellers. Well, less so propellers, more so motors and batteries, that make basically too much grunt and not enough KV for our 2.5, for most, I'll say, of our 2.5 inch props. I've done a bunch of I did some prop testing. It wasn't, I was doing prop testing while I was trying to iron out some problems with the QAVS before the last gig, before the Miami Beach gig that I was playing at the intro there. And the feedback that I got was not really all that great. It was kind of confusing, and it was because there were electrical noise issues with the ESC that was in it. But judging by the numbers, this prop here, which is the GemFan 2540, judging by the numbers, this is the most pitchy prop available for 2.5 inch. And when you look at it, when you put the prop up like this and you look at the angle of the blade, it looks to be the most pitchy prop. Other than, what the hell did I do with them? Other than the ducted version. GemFan makes a 63 millimeter 3-blade ducted propeller, which is here. And when you look at this one, it does look like there's more blade. The blades are also thicker here. But the problem with this propeller is that it's meant for ducts, thus it being called ducted 63 millimeter. So the end of the blades are just cut straight, so that when there's a duct in there, they'll come really close to the duct. Well, these aren't using ducts. So running a propeller like this on a non-ducted rig, you're going to get a bunch of inefficiency out on the tip. Mainly because the top of the propeller and the bottom of the propeller have high and low pressure zones. And then at the end of the propeller, those two zones are going to meet. And when they meet, they're going to make all kinds of turbulence unless you do something to the tip to smoothly combine those high and low pressure zones. And when you look at these GemFan 2540s, they have done the airplane wing sort of set up here. You see on the back side there where my finger is. This is what you'll see on a lot of airplane wings, and it's an attempt to mix those two low pressure zones in a way that's a little bit smoother rather than just letting them ram into each other and figure it out on their own. So I've been running these GemFan 2540s because I thought they were the most pitchy propellers. Somebody commented on Monday's video, Monday's live stream, maybe Sunday's live stream, and said, yo, I think it was Quadbot actually. Him and Apache Smoke have been doing all the timestamps for these live streams. Huge shout out to them. Makes these live streams a lot easier to search and watch and all kinds of stuff. Quadbot pointed out that with GemFan's kind of funky naming scheme, they double checked on GemFan's website to look at the actual pitch of the 2540s, and it is not 40. It was I think it's like 24. The actual pitch is 24. Let's really quickly go to GemFan's website and kind of confirm that. So, for fuck's sake. Ah! No! There we go. So yeah, there's that, which is a little bit frustrating. Shirt of the day is a Rampage shirt from the first year they did it. So yeah, if we go to the search and search for 2540, we will find them. And if you look here, the pitch is actually 2.4. The pitch is not 40, as the name would suggest. I didn't realize, so this is an older propeller. I did not realize that GemFan was doing the wacky naming convention that long ago. I thought it was just like some of their newer props from the last few years. So yeah, I've been running a 2.4-inch pitch propeller, which would explain why on this rig with these 1504 3900s, it wasn't making that much thrust. Like, it wasn't bad, but I was really wanting more thrust, and this sheds some light on that. And then I found this Oscar Liang article, which is just awesome and really well done. Hey, the AOS Cine 25 is together, by the way. It's ready to fly, but I don't have an antenna or an Immortal T mount yet. I think it was Brian Ladmiral. I might be mixing people up, but printed me out a bunch of stuff for this, which is super awesome, and it's in the mail right now. There's no real need for me to get this up in the air today. The next event isn't until May 6th, so I got plenty of time. And then I also had, I asked Brain 3D, and Brian was cool enough to do it, to make me a crossfire mount for this. So the Immortal T, not a crossfire mount, Immortal T mount. These little Immortal T mounts that I absolutely love, and I think you guys will love too. So these little 90-degree angle bastards, they are only for M3. See them hanging off the back there? It gets the Immortal T down and low enough away from the carbon that it's not, that like it can get a clean signal out. And it also keeps it down low enough away from the propellers that it never really gets pulled into the props. It's just a really simple, really lightweight way of mounting an Immortal T. And if you wanted, you could also do that for like a proper long-range rig. You could put them on the front standoffs and hang it off the front as well. And again, it's not... There's a whole bunch of them that put the antenna like right against the carbon, and that's not a great idea. You want to get a little bit of separation from the carbon, and that's exactly what they do. They just drop it down perfectly, and they've worked really well for me forever. So yeah, Brian from Brain sells them and prints them, and I said, yo, can you, by any chance, can you modify that to work with M2 standoffs? Because that's what the AOS 25 uses in the rear here. And he said absolutely. So there's a set of these coming that'll just whoop whoop, and then I can get the little jeep chop on there, and then I can go beep boop, and all will be right with the world. What can I tell you about this? So let me give you a little... I'll give you a little... hold on, let's do this properly. Let's do this the right way. What do you say? Hold on. Let's clear the area. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. This isn't gonna be the best one I've ever done, but it's gonna be one. We're gonna do one. Hold on. And then stop it. Okay. All right, hold on. And enough. So there you guys go. There's your sex spec tour of the AOS Cine 25. Came out really good. Interesting build. It's here's what I'll say. It's definitely a lot less serviceable than the QAVS Pro. It's also heavier, which we figured out during when we were weighing the frames, but I can't like, well, if we weigh them right now, I don't think it's actually going to be heavier. Let's take a quick look. I don't have any of the screw. I mean, it's missing half of the screws. It's missing the TPU that's going to hold the Immortal T and the video antenna on, and it's also missing a battery strap. So it's probably not going to be heavier right now. 168.2 grams, not ready to fly by any means, but close. What did I just say? It came out of my mouth and it was immediately gone. 168 versus actually ready to fly, 184. So yeah, I know it seems hard to believe, but this is probably going to gain like 30 grams. It's going to get a little bit of UMA grip here. It's going to get a battery strap. It's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 more screws. It's going to get a little bit of TPU in the rear for both the antenna and this. And I think that's it. This guy is on 1404 T motors, 4600 kV. And so on this rig, I'm actually a lot less worried about having the pitchiest propeller that I can get my hands on. Okay, so now let's dive back into the. I just wanted to give you a little bit of context. So let's dive back into the propeller discussion. On this fella, on the QAVS, again, it's got 1504 3900 kV motors versus 1404 4600 kV motors. So for the AOS, it's going to be like our 65 mil motor to motor tiny whoops, where it's got plenty of kV, so we can run lower pitched propellers, less bladed propellers. Christ, I might be able to do a bi-blade on this, but I don't know of any 2.5-inch bi-blades that aren't like specifically for toothpicks, and the ones for toothpicks are just not going to have nearly enough pitch. So if there was a pitchy bi-blade, I might be able to get away with running it on this, and that would be pretty cool because that would be super efficient. But I don't know of any. There was the old Rotor X. It was a quad blade, but they designed it so that the blades separated. And the problem was it was very weak where those blades separated, so I wouldn't trust that propeller to run. But I don't know of any other pitchy 2.5-inch bi-blades. If you guys do, definitely let me know. So all that being said, Oscar has this great article comparing 2-inch and 2.5-inch propellers. And up at the top of the article here, this little chunk of text kind of tells you everything that you need to know. But then he does go in detail. What is very cool is that he tested noise level, which is pretty rad. I was kind of surprised by that. Long story short, the Azure 2035 wait, no, that's 2-inch props. Hold on. Scroll down to 2.5-inch. Here we go. The Azure 2540 is the most efficient, and it makes almost the most power. So I'm going to be doing a get FPV order, and unbelievably, I've run these in the past, but I didn't have any left for some reason. I'm a whore about keeping props around, but and I have one of these in my cup of every single one of every prop, but I don't have any more than just that one, so I got to do a little order to get some of these. So this is going to be the propeller that ends up probably on both of these rigs, if I'm honest. The 1404 rig, maybe I'll do. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna do my own testing. But yeah, it's looking like this Azure 2540 is going to be the prop that I go to because It is the most pitchy. This is a true 40 pitch, according to their website. But also it's the most efficient, and that's one of the biggest, most important things to me. The Emax Avan 2.5 inch, which is actually like a 2.1 pitch, this actually produced the most thrust in his testing. Here's the Rotor old school 25-35 by 4. There's a version of this prop where the hub is 2 pieces and the propeller separates. Being a 4-blade, I have no use for it because I need efficiency. Here's the GemFan 2540. It did totally fine in this testing. And again, there's noise level results, which is just really, really cool. Here's the HQ 2.5 by 2.5. I really, really, really wish that Oscar had also tested the HQ 2.5 by 3.5. I have some here. I will test them. This is more of like a toothpick kind of propeller here. And then another quad blade. I have a bunch of these, but again, I'm going for efficiency, which they're not going to do well. This is a propeller that I actually don't have. I've never seen this propeller. Can I buy this? Probably not. Is this still available from Banggood? I can't tell because it's the goddamn phone version of the website. Why? I'm assuming that I can't buy these anymore. Because, yeah. Age. But that's okay. It didn't do all that well in the testing anyway, so it's kind of whatever. So then, if you keep scrolling down, here is a great big section on the 2.5 inch thrust data. Something that's really important to note is that all of the testing that Oscar did was on 1105 5000 kV motors on 3S. So if we convert 5000 kV on 3S over to 4S, basically it's similar to, I don't know, like 3800, I think, kV on 4S. Don't quote me on that, but roughly 3800 kV, which is pretty much exactly what my 1504s are, but a little bit lower than the T-Motor 1104 4600 kVs on 4S. Also, 1105 is a relatively small stator for these kind of propellers. So there's a chance that there's not quite enough motor behind these propellers, but it doesn't look like that's the case from the testing. So he's got 50% throttle testing. This is really nice to look at to get a feel for your cruising, what these are going to be like in a cruise. So mainly the thrust doesn't really matter as much at 50% throttle, but the efficiency is really the thing to look at 50% throttle. And you can see here the Azure 2540 is doing the best, followed pretty closely behind by these Racer Stars that are vaporware, unfortunately, but that's okay. They don't do as well in the rest of the testing. So yeah, the Azure is solidly ahead here with the GemFan 2540 a little bit behind, and then the Emax Avan in sort of third place. We can just sort of ignore the thrust numbers here. And then we're going to scroll down to 100% throttle to see which ones will make the most all-out thrust. This is really important because at 100% throttle, this is what happens when your PID loop is trying to, make corrections and whatnot. Also, when you go full throttle. For me, I'm not really going full throttle with these, but it is really important to know which makes the most thrust. So, yeah, when we look here at the thrust ratings, the Azure is doing really well. The Emax Avan, actually, though, is crushing, which is super interesting, and I actually put the Emax Avans on the QAV Cine rig right now to give them a test. And then here's our GemFan, here's the GemFan 2540, which is about even with the 4-blade GemFan. So yeah, basically the GemFan 2540 is making pretty much the same amount of thrust as the Azure, but if you look down here at efficiency, the Azures are still well ahead on efficiency. So what's interesting about that is one of two things is going on. Either it's not enough motor. Either the 1105 is not enough stator to push that Azure prop hard enough to make more power than the rest of these. That would be the case if the Azure prop really is a 40 pitch, right? The more pitch, the more blade angle, the more work it's going to try to do. And the more motor it's going to need behind it to push it. So that could totally be what's going on. For me, that's not going to be a problem. These 1504s and these 1404s are significantly more grunty than the motors in this test, and I'm running them on 4S rather than 3S. The Emax A-Van making the most thrust is really interesting, and the efficiency is not bad. Like the A-Van efficiency is actually better than the Gemfan 2540 efficiency. So moving to the Azure or the Emax A-Van is going to give me either more power or more efficiency. Or I think in the Azure's case, both. Now, the Azure makes ever so slightly less thrust than the Gemfan 2540. So what this also kind of tips me off is that I don't think that we can really trust anybody's pitch measurements. I have a feeling what's going on is that a computer is calculating these pitch amounts after the blade, profile and whatnot is done. I have a feeling that they're letting computers figure out the pitch of these propellers rather than doing an actual test, a real world test. And I guess my other part of that guess is going to be that different companies are using different computer programs to calculate that. And the results are just kind of all over the place. Because if that Azure was truly a 40 pitch prop and it was being put right next to a 24 pitch prop, unless there's not enough motor behind it, that Azure prop is going to create a shitload more thrust. 40 versus 24, like that's a huge difference. If it was like 40 versus 35, okay, fine. But yeah, 40, and then the Emax A-Van is like 21 pitch. And it's making more thrust than the 40 pitch. So there's some interesting stuff going on. I'm going to do my own testing, but I'm so glad that I found this article. Shout out to Oscar for doing some really good stuff. And then he even has a response time chart here, which like nobody does, which is really, really, really cool. This response time testing is basically just testing what the lightest propeller is, so you can kind of just weigh these propellers and get a good picture of this. The other thing that makes this difficult is that a whole bunch of these props are like almost the exact same color, so I'm having a really hard time deciphering which one is which. This dark blue here, I think maybe is the Azure 2540, and it's doing really well. The more steep the curve is, the quicker it's able to accelerate it. The easiest way to kind of suss that out is this big ass orange one. This is the HQ T65. It is the lightest propeller there. And it's one of the least pitchy propellers there. So it's able to accelerate like absolute hell. So you'll get good pit loop performance in terms of response time, but it actually won't be great pit loop performance because this doesn't make enough thrust. So yeah, that's one of the balances there. The HQ, one of the things that kept me away from the HQ 2.5 props is how heavy they are, and you can really see that here. This is the HQ 2.5 by 2.5. The 2.5 by 3.5 is even heavier. But yeah, you can see here how heavy this prop is. You want this line to be you want to look at the verticality of the line. You don't like this one arriving later. It doesn't mean as much as just the angle here. The steeper the angle, the quicker the motor is changing the speed of the propeller. So that's really all we want to look at is the steepness of the angle here. And you can see this is the heaviest prop and it has the least steep angle. And that's kind of what we're trying to figure out here. So yeah, but again, the weight, the response time is also related to the pitch. A less pitchy propeller has less air resistance, right? Because it's pushing less air, so it'll speed up and down faster. But yeah, response time is pretty easy to kind of take a look at with a scale, and just dropping your propellers on a scale. The lighter the prop, the quicker the response time is going to be. So yeah, really cool article, kind of furthering our knowledge of 2.5-inch props. At the moment, I've got the Cine 25 here on the Gemfan 2540s. I have a whole bunch of these propellers. I know that they work. I know that they're well balanced. And I think that these 1404 4600s are going to make plenty of RPM to wake these propellers up. So I think these props are going to be a decent choice on this motor. The big but I am going to test this. I am going to test this rig on the Azure 2540s, as well as the Emax Avan Scimitar 2.5s. So yeah, those are all of like the lower pitch kind of propeller options that are going to get tested there. Just two of them really. And then the big fella with the big motors at the moment is on the Emax Avans, because I want to test this on like a lower pitch option first. And then, so I'm going to run it on a battery with these. And then I'm going to swap on the Gemfan ducted 65s, which were not in this testing because they're new. And I should pick up a bunch of power, but I should lose a bunch of efficiency. And then I'm also going to run this rig on the HQ 2.5 by 3.5 by 3. These are going to have the worst flight characteristics because they're the heaviest, but these might really wake up these motors. In terms of like true pitch, I'm willing to bet that these are the most pitchy. Although I don't know, these might be. But these have these are not a duct specific propeller, so they have the tip of the blade is a little bit rounded off, which is going to work a lot better in terms of it should be much more efficient than these guys. So I might actually end up on these props until the Azure 2540s come. Once those come, I have a feeling that they're going to go on all of these rigs because their efficiency was really impressive, even on that 1105 smaller motor. So I think on the 1404s, they'll be really efficient. And then I hope on these that they'll make a whole bunch of power. But yeah, I'll be testing that out. I would like these rigs to have some subtle differences, right? Like, technically speaking, these two rigs are just one, right? Two is one and one is none. So this is basically one rig because I assume that on the airplane, one of these is going to catch on fire for no reason. So I approach these as the same rig, but I don't like at these cycling events, I'm not doing stuff that's like completely insane. So I don't need both of these rigs to be completely identical because I'm trying to do some crazy flying shit that, like, you know what I mean, is like super difficult. I kind of keep my distance and stay as far away as I can while still getting a good shot, to be as safe as possible. So because of that, because I don't absolutely need the rigs to be identical for, you know, flying purposes. Like with freestyle, it's different, right? Freestyle, you really do want identical rigs because you're throwing a 650 gram brick, you know, 150 feet in the air and trying to dive down a gap that's like 2 inches bigger than the width of the rig. So with that, it makes total sense. But yeah, for these gigs, I want to have these be a little bit different. I want there to be a reason that I grab one or the other. And then not a big difference, but like some subtle differences, right? So I think that'll be perfect with the motors. I have a feeling that at some point I might put the heavier, the AOS Cine 25 frame is a little bit heavier. So I kind of wish that I'd saved these 1504s and put them on here. But, you know, I do have a couple extra sets of these 1504s. So I could once I start refining these two, I could end up putting this rig on the bigger motors, which would make sense because the frame is heavier. We'll see. We'll see once this is fully built out. And yeah, so maybe this will be like the slightly higher speed, heavier kind of rig, and then the QAV Cine will be the lighter weight, more nimble, whatever kind of rig. I don't know. We'll see. Right now, they're set up to fly as close to one another as possible, right? In terms of power to weight, because of the extra RPM. But once I get some propellers on this guy that wake these 1504 motors up, that could change. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, if I'm honest. I'm really looking forward to see. I wanted to fly this today, but it was ugly out. I'm really looking forward to seeing what these 1504s are like on these Emax Avan props. Now that I have an ESC in this rig that's not a mess. So yeah. To be honest, I am completely blown away that in Oscar's thrust stand testing, those Emax Avan props made more power. That's wild because they are lower pitch than everything else in that test that made good power. So kind of impressive. And that also kind of illustrates how wrong I think these pitch measurements are. And, you know, that's something that T-Motor has said before. Right, like that's one of the reasons why they didn't really spend much time or effort fixing their prop, the names of their propellers to signify the actual pitch that they are. Their propellers, the names of their propellers, when you look at like if they have a propeller that's 30 pitch and another propeller that's 40 pitch, the 40 pitch prop is going to make more power, right? So like their numbering system works within Gemfan propellers, but then when you compare their numbering system to everybody else, it falls apart because everybody else is using the actual pitch number. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Hold on, I put the wrong props over there. All right, so there's sort of the culmination of the AOS Cine 25 build series. I did a little porno music video for you. It went together really well. It is absolutely less serviceable than the QAV Cine. It's got 18 screws per side rather than 10, and in order to really like work on it, the arms kind of have to come off. It's a very awkward rig to work on, and the one of the cool things about the QAV Cine or QAV Pro is that you can put your so it's a box frame obviously, and on the top you can put your ESC and your motors. And then you can just run that ESC pigtail. You run a little bit of a longer ESC pigtail across over, and then you hook it up to the flight controller, which is on the bottom piece of carbon. And then so when you take the thing apart, 10 screws to pop it apart, you just unplug that cable and the two pieces completely separate. And the bottom piece has the flight controller and the Vista and all that stuff on it. And so you can just like put that on your desk and it's really nice and easy to work on. The AOS Cine 25, there's not a great way to work on it. Like so you're gonna have to remove 18 screws, which is just absurd. And then if you work on it like this, upside down, the antenna is gonna kind of be in the way. Whatever, no big deal. But the thing is, like, you're gonna have to remove screws, and the arms are gonna be kind of flopping around. And it's just, yeah, it's just gonna be less serviceable in the field for sure. And on the bench, like, it's just gonna be more frustrating to work with on the bench. But the arms are removable. So if you somehow manage to break an arm, or if you break the guards, you know, like there are separate pieces. The QAV Cine, the QAV Pro, it's just two pieces of carbon. So if you break the guard, you got to pull the whole, you know, kind of like solid base plate kind of stuff. On frames like these, the value of that is much less than with freestyle frames. I will absolutely admit. Especially because you're never going to break these arms. You're only ever going to break these ducts. And if you break this bottom piece, it's actually not that bad. If you break this bottom piece, it's 18 screws and you're pretty much done because nothing is bolted to this bottom piece. It's just, yeah. So if you're going to buy an AOS Cine 25 or 35, my recommendation would be to only buy an extra bottom plate. I don't think you really need to buy the extra top plate like I did, because I don't think you're going to break this top plate unless it fail-safes and then does that thing where it flips itself upside down and then slams. But normal usage, you're gonna be right side up when you crash, and it's gonna break this bottom plate. So I will admit, I do like that about this frame, that the bottom plate is gonna be a lot easier to replace than the Cine 25. Basically, the Cine 25, instead of 18 screws, you're gonna remove 10 screws, and then you're gonna have to remove 4 more screws on the bottom plate. Oh no, it's gonna be a lot more than that, because the bottom plate has the Vista on it, so you're gonna have to remove 4 screws for the Vista. You're gonna have to remove 4 screws and your entire stack. Not your entire stack, just your flight controller. So yeah, I mean, slightly different. It won't be a huge difference, but here you go. There's everything you ever wanted to know about the 2.5-inch box frames that we have available to us. The best of the 2.5-inch box frames that we have available to us. Let's get caught up on chat. Brandon's Baked Bean says, hey, I know that frame. He's referencing the Bubito because he sent it to me because he didn't want it. Nani FPV says, enjoy the ramen hangry Ciotti makes for Instagram streams. Rockcrawler says, hey, CiottiFPV and everyone. Rob Axelson says, whole ass senior gangle. Rockcrawler says, did you say you were going to Skinny Puppy tomorrow? My wife is going to be there and she wanted me to ask. I'm not going to Skinny Puppy. I'm going to Snarky Puppy. Yeah, with Patrick. That was and it's not tomorrow, it's Friday. Yeah, that was a Christmas present from Maggie. Very cool of her. Tommy Newton says, what's up, guys? Tommy Newton also says, what KV motors and cell are you running? That was at 608. I don't remember what we were talking about at 608. Tommy, tag me again and say, hey, what KV motors and cell are you running on blah, blah, blah rig? And I'll let you know. Metadirtskins, $50 super chat. Thanks again, brother. Super, super, super generous. And congrats on the new job. Let me see if you replied to let us know what the new job is. I don't see a reply here quite yet, but I'll keep looking. Michael D says, happy Wednesday. Have you seen that Happy Model is going to release a Mobula 8 85mm? I shared the beta test video from one of the Happy Model team pilots on Discord, Toothpick and Whoop. I did not see that. That's pretty interesting. Admittedly, I don't really have any interest in it because it just doesn't make any sense. But the more options, the better, to confuse as many people as possible so they have to come here and listen to the straight talk on what to and not to get. New Mobula 8 beta tests. Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm going to fast forward through in hopes I don't get copyright donkey. That's an interesting looking transmitter. That was that was not an 85. Is that an 85? That looks a lot like a 75. Come on now, there's some otters. That's always fun. That looks like an 85. Looks like they've got the Gemfan tri-blades, 2-inch tri-blades on there. I didn't love those propellers. They were kind of heavy. This thing is shaking around like a son of a bitch. Yeah, I don't know why you would fly a tiny whoop in a situation like this. This is a location to fly toothpicks. This is a 3-inch toothpick spot, not a tiny whoop spot. Yeah. And like this flying style too, like if you wanted to fly a tiny whoop here, you should be flying in the little workout equipment. Not up in the clouds and up in the trees, and like this little workout equipment. That's where a tiny whoop belongs at this location, not up here in the treetops. So like if you're just trying to dial in the PID tune, sure, but right tool for the right job, that's not a tiny whoop flight spot or flight style, in my opinion. A 3-inch toothpick is going to be so much more fun at a location like that. You're going to be able to throw it over the treetops. You're going to be able to go fast, go slow, and if you hit somebody, they're going to laugh because it's a fucking 3-inch toothpick, and who cares? It's like, 120 grams or whatever. It's not going to hurt a fly. So, yeah, I don't know. Athix says, Heads did a review on the Bubito. Very cool. To me, an 85mm tiny whoop is for picking up 20 plus gram payloads with good efficiency. A tiny lifter would make a lot of sense in an 85mm frame. The problem would be the ducts would come into view a lot sooner. One of the things I love about these 75mm tiny lifter builds is the ducts don't stick out very far, so you can run relatively low camera angle on the camera up top here before the ducts come into view. With an 85mm frame, these ducts are farther out, and they're going to be more present in the low camera angle stuff. If you're flying really fast, that's not a problem because you're going to twist the camera up a little bit and you'll be fine. But typically with tiny whoops, you're not flying fast. If you were going to fly fast, you wouldn't be flying a tiny whoop. So yeah. Tommy Newton says, be right back. Freelojo says, I've now experienced 1S802 27,000 kV. I want more power now. Hello. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. It's good stuff. Big power tiny whoops are the answer. Denzel the Terrible says, hey gang, Ciotti just stopped in before dinner. Thanks for stopping, brother. Denzel says, WTF is a snarky puppy. It's a band. Mudderson says, I forgot to tag you. It's another InfoSec data protection job, but I'll be working with a bunch of former coworkers who I like a lot. That's huge. Good coworkers are super important. God, good coworkers can really save a terrible job and make it so much more stomachable. Slow Entropy says, 85mm whoops are my favorite thing to fly, so good around the neighborhood for stress-free flying. Yeah, I mean, they certainly fly good for a tiny whoop, but I don't like that for a tiny whoop in there, right? Like, I want to fly something that just flies amazing, not like flies amazing for being handicapped or crippled, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm still on team toothpick for neighborhood flying where you want to be quiet and safe. Michael D says, Mobula 8 makes perfect sense for a tiny lifter. It does. It turns into a situation of how do we mount the camera and where do we mount the camera? In order to get the ducts out of view, realistically, we want to start moving the camera forward. And when we start moving the payload forward, that's going to start to overwork the front motors. With the bigger propellers and the bigger motors, I mean, it might be fine. There might be enough headroom with those front motors for it to be okay. But the other side of this is that bigger propellers, bigger motors, bigger frame, more weight, more noise. One of the magical things about the tiny lifters is that they're so quiet. They're not that quiet. Like, it sounds like a 2S tiny whoop. It does make noise, but compared to every other rig that's able to carry an HD camera, it's the quietest. So I'm still, and I have 85mm, an 85mm build that I just need to put a receiver on and get all bound up. and I just haven't done it because I've been so happy with these. Also, it's cool that these use the same Tiny Whoop batteries. Like, there's a lot of benefits to these guys. So yeah, the 85. I love that the 85 millimeter thing exists, but I'm still here. I'm still happy with these guys. Um, this is one of those really fun kind of engineering challenges within FPV, right? Like how what's the right size? What's the right size of propeller and motor and power system for the payload? Also mixing in the flight characteristics and durability. Yeah, that's I love that. I love that process of figuring that out. And I'm still on team 75 millimeter tiny lifter, I think. All right, here we go. Let's get tiny lifted. Yo. We're going to swap this thing off of the V4, the BLV3 AIO. I've not heard back from Kelvin in a while now as to if his engineers have been able to figure out what the hell's going on with this BLV3 on 2S. So I'm just gonna swap it out, and then if they ever figure out what the hell's going on with it, I can always put it back in. But for the time being, I'm gonna pull it out of here, because I do, I've got one of these tiny lifters put together right now, but it's on the higher KV motors that I have to motor limit down a whole ton. I really like the way that this one flies on these Newbie Drone Flow 1102 10,000 kV motors that I can run at 100% motor limiting. So, yeah, no big deal. And cool. This will also allow me to, I'm really looking forward to flying this back to back with the other one while chasing the drift cars to see if there really is any difference. Maybe I prefer the one with bi-blades, because it's a little bit more slidey, possibly, and chasing these drift cars around, I'm starting to do some like backwards flying and some other stuff where a little bit more slidey of a rig is potentially better and is going to allow me to do some different camera movements. So yeah, that's kind of cool. It'll be interesting to be able to compare these things head to head. Also, like, it's cool to see like what's the least amount of power that we can have on one of these things for good throttle resolution. Let me pull the chat over here so I can see what you guys are talking about. There we go. All right, cool. So let's get this Mini Mortal T out of here. All right, cool. And everything else looks good here. Oh, also this has the Caddx Ant camera in it, so it'll be nice to be able to compare cameras, see if this camera looks a little bit better. Why does this look so crooked in here? Did something break? What's happening here? Right angle to that. Is that crooked, or have I lost my mind? No, that's crooked. Did this break? Or is this just not screwed in? No. Weird. The camera's not sitting crooked, is it? It might be. Oh, I know what's going on. The camera is not fitting into the slot. Okay. So, well, that's good to know, because flying with a crooked camera is painful. So let me see if I can get this camera to sit properly in this Newbie Drone Goober canopy. Oh, and it was just that simple. Oh man, this camera's kind of loose in here. Interesting. Camera's actually very loose in there. Well, I don't love that. Oh my god, the camera is incredibly loose in here. Can you see that? Look how much I can move that in there. Good god. Okay, that can't stay like that. Jesus. Yeah, that ain't good. And I think this piece of plastic just broke. No, we're fine. We're fine. It's making clicking noises. What's that clicking on? Yeah, this is no good. This can't. I can't have this camera in here. Because, like, inevitably it's going to rotate around and then, well, let's see. When it's flat on the, is it maybe being held straight when it's, no. No, it's just hanging there. And yeah, I can actually see that it's sitting sideways. Alright, well, I gotta admit that's kind of annoying. Although this camera didn't look that much better. This is a Caddx Ant Lite. And I put this in. I put this in to try to get a little bit better video performance out of this thing. But the problem is the AIO. The problem is not the camera. Matter of fact, let's do a quick test. Let's fire this thing up, and we'll do a quick test of this Caddx Ant camera versus the Newbie Drone BI. Just to kind of confirm that this doesn't look that much better. Because if it looks a lot better, I might be willing to leave it in there and just take the chance that it sits a little bit sideways. TV lamp, we're going to go to cool white, and then retro lamp, we're going to go to cool white as well. We're going to turn them up all the way. I just want as much light on that side of the room as possible for this test. All right, so a couple of batteries here, and let's grab the other tiny lifter with the Newbie Drone BI camera. And I have been meaning to do something. I have been meaning to plug a remote control into this Caddx camera in order to change some of the settings, and I've been kind of lazy about not doing that. So let's take the opportunity right now to kind of do that, because what I'm wondering is, can I crank the contrast and the brightness up enough in the camera to offset the muddiness that the Newbie Drone proprietary OSD chip drops on the camera itself. So let's take a look at that first. Well, no, first let's take a look at the Newbie Drone BI camera. And so let's go here. Okay. So I'm going to hold this right here, and all right, so the bottom of the frame is going to be the bottom of this little shelving unit in front of me, and then the top is up there, and I'm holding it up against this light. All right, so there's that one. If somebody could take a screenshot, I would love that. Right side of the frame is the first shelf on that shelving unit. All right, cool. And so that's the newbie drone BI. And now we've got the Caddx Ant Light. And I am going to change the settings a little bit on this, but initially we're going to leave the settings alone. And I'm just going to hold this here, and I'm going to try to line up the same shot that we had a second ago. Alright, so it was roughly here. And then I had that on the bottom and that on the bottom. So I guess it does look a little bit better. But let's see if I can... Let's see what we can do here with the remote control. So, auto exposure. So we're going to up the brightness. What the hell's BLC? Doesn't make a drastic enough difference to really figure out what the hell it is. All right, return. Auto white balance, leave that alone. Day, night. This is not the right controller for this, so like the down button doesn't seem to really work. We're in color mode, that's good. Image enhance. Here we go. So, can I crank the shit out of the contrast in here? See, now that's too much. Now you lose all the detail on the darks. That's too little. Yeah, see, now it was set kind of properly out of the box. Zone is auto. What the hell does that mean? BDNR? Is that some kind of noise reduction, I bet? Saturation. Sharpness. Can I crank up the sharpness to hell? It just starts to like moray and look weird. Video settings. Yeah, see, I mean, it doesn't... I guess maybe that looks a little bit better. This thing's getting really hot. Let's pull power. Okay. I guess that looks a little bit better, but I don't think it's that much better. Let me look at it through the goggles. I'll go one then the other through the goggles. Let's see. Because what I can do is put a little bead of welder on the top and just glue that camera into that canopy, and then I won't have to worry about it rotating. I am not above doing that. But there better be the video better be significantly better for me to do that, rather than just dropping one of the many newbie drone BI cameras that I have in and just calling it a day. And just, you know, the tiny lifters look like ass through the goggles, but the video quality that you get out of them is fantastic. So when I hold this thing here, I can just barely make out the artwork on this, and then I could potentially like line up that gap. All right, so there's that. For some reason, these goggles immediately started fogging up as soon as I put them on. This doesn't make any sense. Maybe it was my eyes just going out of focus. All right, so let me try that one more time, because yeah, goggle fog is a bitch. Okay, so there we go. All right, and over on the entertainment center, I could maybe like kind of make out some of those gaps, and then I can just barely read that. All right, cool. So there's that. And now we're going to go over to the Caddx Ant light. And here we go. And I'm just going to have to kind of like balance this camera because it's not bolted down. But that's okay. I mean, it does look better. Unquestionably, it looks better. I can make out the artwork on this much easier. Yeah, that looks better for sure. That is unquestionably better. Looking up at like the Tiny Whoop gate, I can almost read where it says Tiny Whoop up on top there. And now let's go back to the other one again. And that AIO is still kind of hot, so the VTX is probably on the brink of overheating. Whereas this other one with the Newbie Drone BI camera is nice and cool. So if I put this here and I look at the Tiny Whoop thing, it's just way more muddy. Yeah. Yeah, that other camera does look significantly better. I don't think there's any questioning that. Can you guys see it? Can you guys see it through the internet? I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to leave this camera in here. And I think it's noticeable enough. Like, if it was a little bit less obvious, I would just say to hell with it. Like, I really want to say with it, to hell with it, if I'm honest. But, yeah. Alright, I'm glad I finally plugged that remote in. That was a nice little thing to remember there. I've been forgetting to do that for pretty much months. Okay, so now let's get this BLV3 out of here. And we will get a V3 in. And then this thing will be up and running again. So I'm going to leave this as is. Maybe I can... I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little... I'm going to get it centered. Push the camera evenly up like that. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the little retaining hoop thing against the lens. And that should be enough to... All it needs to do is keep it from rotating in there. I shouldn't need to add a whole bunch of glue. Like, I'm not gluing the camera to the thing. I just want it to resist any potential rotation. So it shouldn't need to be, like, ultra glued down or anything. The trick is going to be getting this thing as centered as possible. And I think that's about as good as it's going to get right there. Alright, I think that's centered. And then let's come up here. We'll get some of this Bondic UV reactive glue going. Ah, come on, man. Oh, come on, man. Really? You're gonna fight me that bad? Alright, hold on. Hold on, please! This is very obviously clogged. And I'm trying to get it unclogged without making it explode. Well, that's a little bit better now. Should have just enough there. So, yeah, I'm just going to put this glue right here in between the little clear plastic thing and the body of the camera lens. And then we're going to click on our little UV light. But first, let me check that it's level again. Yep, that looks good. Yep, that looks good. All right, so now we're going to use this to cure it. And I'll bet you that's all we really needed. Grant R is a fan of man grunts. Not what he said, but sometimes you hear what you want to hear. I think that's about it. It doesn't need a ton of time to cure with the UV light. It's going to cure on its own. Let me really quickly see if I can get this Bondic nozzle a little bit more cleared out than it currently is. Just real quick, like. Way better, but still struggling. Come on, man. Get cleared out, bro. Get cleared out. Just using like garbage from the garbage can to try to like pull whatever is clogging this up out of the nozzle, and I think I got it. All right, cool. Okay, hopefully next time I bust that out, it's not as angry as it was there today. Back to the bench we go. Camera is going to dry. That will be great. Let's get this BLV3 out. And we're going to have to desolder the double BT 2.0 battery lead from here and zap it onto the V3 again. But that's okay. That's no big deal. All right, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Incidentally, with one of the... Ooh, you know what we'll do? You know what I'll do? I'm going to use this BLV3 in the Bubito, because something I noticed with these BLV3s where I've got these ELRS modules on them, they're kind of tall with the ELRS module, and I was wondering how the hell I was going to get it to fit under the Bubito canopy. But I don't got to worry about that. I'll use this BLV3 and all will be right with the world. Very cool. I love that. Right before the stream, I kind of looked at that and I was like, oh shit. Well, I'll just troubleshoot it during the stream. And so this is me troubleshooting it, really. All right. So that means it doesn't really matter which of these BLV3s to use. All these guys are unplugged. This should be free. Okay, pop this up and out. Okay. All right, we're gonna reuse this obviously because it's got our motors and propellers. But this guy is gonna get the BT 2.0 removed from it. And let's just half-ass that real quick here. Oh boy, that's a lot of flux. That's too much flux. Okay, that's better. Might as well preload. Guess I'll use this one. Put a little bit on here. All right, put that one aside. Okay. So let's just. I'm going to do a bad job on this, but it'll be fine. Let's just get this up and out. White is at the corner. All right, that one's out. I don't know, these things stand up like that. That's kind of nice. Oh, just that one stands up. This one doesn't. I could probably do this like this. All right, white was by the corner, I believe, is what I said. I hope. I do not recommend you do it like this. This is a silly way of doing this, but whatever. I've soldered enough where I can do dumb shit and usually get away with it. Oh god, come on. Yeah, see, now it's getting a little bit more difficult. So let's bring in the tweezers. And main problem with doing it this way is nothing's holding the board, so the board is kind of flopping around, but I can kind of bully it into shape here. There we go. And let's take a quick look with a 5X loop. Make sure that we got those wires in the little indentations in the board, and I did indeed. All right, so yeah, we got away with it a little bit there. All right, cool. So just kind of bending these leads where they need to be bent so that they head rearwards. All right, cool. So this guy's now good to go. Let's just drop it right back into this frame. And then while I'm at it, I might as well throw the BT 2.0 connector on that. And then I won't need to do any soldering with this Bubito build. It'll be all just like trying to space stuff out and crank it together, and away we shall go. All right, so I need some rubber grommets. These are the Happy Model ones. I'm not going to use those. I'm going to use these clear Newbie Drone ones. I like these the best. All right, let's get these on here. I'm sorry, these clear ones are Betaflight, not Newbie Drone. I like them because they have a I like them because they have a big slot, guys. I'm a fan of big slots, and I'm not afraid to admit it. So, you know, do whatever you'd like with that. I'm a fan of big slots. Slots. Way different. Two completely different things. All right, there's our big slot lined up, and that's all looking fine. ELRS module is sitting on here on a couple pieces of VHB. I run my soldering iron at 700 degrees Fahrenheit. That is, technically speaking, a little bit too hot for the little 30 gauge wires, and not quite hot enough for the big like 14, 16 gauge wires. But it's one temperature that's like perfectly in the middle. So on the thicker cables, I just have to be a little bit more patient. And then on the smaller cables, I just have to be a little bit faster. So yeah, I don't have the patience to constantly reach over and change the temperature on the iron. And this is an easy way to kind of get around that. So, and yeah, it works really well. But if you haven't been soldering for years and years and years and years, take the time to drop your iron down to like 650 for the little 30 gauge wires, and then crank your iron up to like 750 for the big thick wires. And then for anything in between, for like motor wires and stuff, 700 is perfect. So like 20 gauge wires, maybe 20 gauge wires might want a little bit more heat, but like 22 gauge, 24 gauge, 26 gauge, 700 degrees is about perfect for those. And those are typically motor wires. All right, let's get this guy screwed down. I always feel like I'm forgetting something with these, but it's really just, there's not much to them. So let's get our front screw cranked down here, and then I'm going to be as careful as possible. Nope, that Bondic is dry. It's a little tiny bit tacky, but it's nice and strong. It's not goopy anymore. So here we go. We're going to run our very custom length True RC Singularity antenna through the little hole in the back here. I'm going to put it up over the camera wire, and now we're going to plug, give you guys the full fiddly experience that is the way that this kind of goes together. So we have to plug this in first. And it's kind of just barely big enough for your finger to get in there. All right, so now the camera is plugged in, and you just want to make sure that you get that seated all the way. It will pop off. And then step 2 is getting the antenna plugged in here. So get this kind of fed around here. Avoid that. And get that UFL lined up. Come on, you bastard. There we go. And now just get this guy lined up here. And now you want to take a look and make sure that the ELRS is clearing okay, and in our case it is. And now we just got to get these 3 screws. And now these are extra long screws that Happy Model makes and sells with the Modula 7 that I've found work really well with this setup, mainly because we've got a lot of weight up really high. We've got a 26.2 gram Insta360 Go sitting really high on this build. So when you crash this thing inverted, it really puts a lot of stress on the goober canopy and the frame. Like, the goober canopy is really strong, so what it'll try to do is rip the posts right out of the frame, and it's happened before. So these really long screws here go so deep into those posts in this frame that it becomes a lot stronger. They actually go through the center of the frame. This Cockroach 75 frame is actually set up so that you can run double 25 by 25 AIOs, one on top, one on bottom. And there are posts down here. Kind of hard to see, but if you look right up at the top of the screen, that's actually another post that another set of rubber grommets can go on. In my case, I'm using that space for an extra battery here. It's where the second battery goes for it to be a 2S. 1 and 2. So I'm using that void up here for the second battery. If you were to mount like a bigger battery on the bottom or just run this 1S, you could technically do a build with this with like HD0, an HD0 board down here, and then your regular AIO board up top. Or you can do it the other way around or whatever. This Cockroach 75 frame is really cool like that. That's one of my favorite things about it. Really slick little setup. Really nice way to use that space that would otherwise not get utilized, right? Like, that's the big thing with Tiny Whoops is, like, you got to use every millimeter of space that you've got available to you. And this frame does that in a better way than any others that I've seen with that whole, like, second set of posts. So these long screws, what I do on these frames is I run a drill bit down. Normally there's the top post, and then there's a flat piece of plastic in between, and then there's the bottom post, and they're threaded. Well, there's that flat piece of plastic in the middle is solid. So what I do is I run a drill bit down to punch the hole out through both posts, and then these longer screws will go all the way through the one post, all the way through the center flat section, and into the bottom post part, and it just makes it incredibly strong. And ever since I've started doing this, I have not broken one of the posts on these Cockroach 75 frames, which is great. I've broken other stuff, like a lot of times these frames will break up here, but yeah, I mean, you know, we eliminate one weak point at a time, and eventually we'll have a system with, hopefully, no weak points left. Camera looks like it's nice and straight in there. Everything else looks happy. Let's get these motors plugged in. And this guy will be ready to go. I mean, I still need to put it into Betaflight and get the motor spinning the right direction, but, you know, I'll either do that on my time or forget to do that and won't be able to fly it tomorrow night. It's 50-50 with me. Alright, let's get this guy in here. There we go. Nope, stop it. Get in there, you little jerk. Alright, cool. There's one. Here comes two. Alright. Good. 3. Come on. Alright, there's... Ah! There's 3. And... number 4 was trying to get away. Get back here, number 4. Who does number 2 work for? Alright. All set. The main tiny lifter is back. And ready to drag around the big old Insta360 Go 2. I try my best to take these wire leads and run them in a way that keeps them from being a separate obstruction to the thrust, but man, is it difficult sometimes. Because like I want to run them down these posts here, but then they tend to get in the way of the battery a little bit. I'm going to do that though. I'd been trying to run them along this post here, but this post here is really skinny. So it's not really blocking the wind very much. I know this seems like a super pedantic thing, but this actually matters. The keeping the airflow below the propeller as clean as possible is a real thing, and you do want to give a little bit of thought to that. I was talking to Ryan Harrell yesterday again about the QAV Cine. He was asking me a bunch of questions about the AOS 25 Cine. And he said that when they were doing their testing with the QAV Pro, Freibot, Cine, whatever the hell it's called, they were seeing a 30-second difference between, on multiple batteries, between it being in a pusher versus a puller configuration. And like, it's not supposed to be like that. Like, pullers are supposed to be, according to like pretty much all aerodynamic theory from airplanes, which are not quads, but like most propeller theory and knowledge states that the low pressure zone needs to be more clear. For some strange reason with quads, the reverse is true. The efficiency comes from, at least on the box frames that have been tested, the extra efficiency comes from below the propeller being clear of obstructions. Which, like, that makes more sense logically, right? Like, bro science people would think that, right? But then, like, actual science calls it out the other way. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, bro science kind of won on this one. Not really won, but just happened to be more correct, I think is a better way to put it. So yeah, there we go. This guy is ready for some abuse tomorrow night. I am dehydrated as fuck. But on my way to being a little bit less dehydrated. All right, here, let's get the... Let's get the other... Oh, wait, no. We're going to be doing this one. We're going to be doing this... let's get this prepped for the Bubito real quick. So... we're going to throw some rubber grommets on here. Michael D says, the plastic that wraps around the camera to hold it in place stretched out and eventually broke on my BLV3. Bad design choice in my opinion. I ended up using dental floss to secure it. Nice. Yeah, it's not a great... The Goober canopy works, but it's a little fiddly. It's already kind of heavy though. Newbie Drone has created a new Goober canopy that is for the that's for the screw down cameras, but those cameras with mounting screws are heavier, and then that canopy is heavier too. So yeah, it's tough, man. Like designing a really lightweight canopy is tough work, and I don't think anybody has really perfected it quite yet. I think the Modulus 6 canopy is as close as we've got to something that's actually good. The problem with it though is that it's you can't put an Insta360 Go 2 on top, right? So here we go. I've already got some flux on these solder joints. I should just be able to hook these up. I'm gonna put my 5X loop on here though. My little eyeballsies. You guys are not gonna be able to see this, but just take my word for it. I'm soldering it. And I'm also giving you guys a terrible shadow here. So I apologize for that. But sometimes we just gotta get shit done. So here's the ground. And there's a whole bunch of extra wire on this that I'm gonna have to clip off. But again, I don't think you guys can even really see that. Alright, so what's killing me right now is the lead-free solder. But I got it. I think we're okay. Now let's get the voltage lead on here. God, the focal distance of this 5X loop is so small. It's really tough. My mouth is like on the camera that you guys are looking through right now. Alright, almost there. Nah, that's ugly, man. That's way too ugly. I can't let that be. Let's add a little bit of solder here. When I add the solder, it'll probably, the wire will probably pop off, but that's okay. We'll add the solder and then we'll stick it back on. Yep, just as I suspected. Ground lead is good to go though. Ground lead cooperated. Now this guy has some fresh solder on it. It'll work too. Let me just get it in here. And on it goes. Is that close enough? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. All right. So we don't need to solder anymore, I don't think. Let's just come in here with some flush cutters because there's just a extreme amount of extra cable sitting on top of these. 1 and 2. And now that little piece did a little dance and landed on the board, but luckily I was paying attention. So, alright, cool. BLV3 is good to go now. Let's give these leads a little tug to make sure that they're strong. Alright, they passed the rub and tug test. We're good. So, time for the Bubito frame to come and play. Alright. Come on, damn you. Get on there. Get in the slot, yo! There we go. It's fine. Alright. Freeloader says, I do believe your Freudian slip was showing. What did I say? Wes says, assuming you're using freedom units for the temperatures. Yep, 700 Fahrenheit. 661 says, what's up? Freeloader says, Goober V2 is taller and slightly narrower. It is taller, yeah. CV says, did I miss where you got those long screws? They come with the Mobula 7s. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that Race Day Quad sells them. I think if you type Mobula 7 screws into Race Day Quads, you'll find them. Okay. That's what the Bubito frame looks like. It's very small. Let's take it apart. Oh, thank God it uses M1.5 screws. I was worried that it used like that weird M1.2 or 1.3 or whatever the hell it is. I have no idea what we're going to do about the camera. There is a little TPU camera mount. You know what I do want to do though is weigh this. I want to weigh. Well, we'll weigh it when it's all the way done. We'll weigh it when it's all the way done. Yeah, avoid solder fumes when you're working in close like that. Basically, take a big breath, and then when you get in close like that, just breathe out. Try not to breathe in when you're on top of the. Yeah, let's weigh it anyway. So this is with all the TPU on it. It's probably kind of heavy. With all the... Not bad. 8.7 grams. 8.6 grams. Not bad at all. The real test will be once it's all loaded up. I don't even know what a regular tiny whoop frame weighs. Maybe 2 or 3 grams. 661 says, what's up? No, we got that. Wes says, feel like I got clickbaited on this video. Said he was going to do the Bubito, and we're almost 2 hours in and haven't seen it yet. Welcome to a CiottiFPV stream, Wes. Get used to it, brother. You guys ask a lot of really good questions. There's a lot of shit to talk about. And, yeah, I like, the thing that I can do that gives you guys the most value is the Q&A. So I always like front load that and give you guys, you know, as much attention as possible. And then if we have time, we'll do the things that I've kind of got scheduled. But yeah, I just feel like the discussions that we have a lot more value than you just watching me fuck around with yet another build, right? Like how many builds have I done at this point? Like it's they're not all that. I mean, I assume if that's not the case, let me know. But I just kind of assume that the discussions that we have and the tech and that stuff surrounding like build combinations and which parts work and which parts don't is the most valuable thing that I've kind of got to offer. You know, if you're sticking around on this channel, you're probably a pretty good builder. Like people that don't like to build don't really watch my live streams. So here's the little camera mount thing, and here's a Newbie Drone BI camera. Let's see if this fits in there. This is a very weird camera mount setup. I can't say that I understand this, but whatever. Let's just take a look here. So it looks like the lens. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Goes right in there. Look at that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. There we go. Okay. I still don't understand this camera mount, even a little bit. It's got like a weird slot here. I have no idea what the deal is with this camera mount. But luckily this front part here is a tight enough fit on the lens that as long as I get it rotated properly, because there's no like provisions to keep it from being rotated incorrectly, we should be okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know what I mean? All right, looks like that's somewhat straight. And Okay. Yeah, close enough, I guess, hopefully. I think I'm going to put the AIO in here and then remount the camera. So there are a couple of screws in here. They're not plastic. I thought they might be plastic screws. But has it really almost been? Jesus, it's 7:50 already. My God. All right, let's get back in the chat. Marcel off Axis FPV is in the house. He says, what's the weight difference with a XT30 or those two connectors? Wouldn't XT30 be better for 2S? Probably, but then I would have to buy a whole bunch of 2S batteries. Man, is it nice to just be able to use Tiny Whoop batteries on these tiny lifters. I'll bet you that double BT 2.0 is a little bit lighter than XT30, but yeah, I mean, that's not why I'm doing it. It's really pretty much completely out of convenience. Also, like, it's hard to find super lightweight, like, it's actually a really good question. Let me take a really quick look and see what the lightest weight 2S battery is, and I'm going to compare it to two of these folded cell 1S batteries. So two of these folded cell 300s, which work hysterically well, are 16.3 grams. Good God, that's light. 16.3 grams. So if we go here, and then we go to batteries, cell count 2, and then we go the tiniest little capacity. Oh, okay. All right, so there's not much of a weight difference. So this is a high volt 380. I don't know if these are folded cell or rolled cell or what, but this is only 22 grams. What did I say was the weight on these? Were they 26? This 380 cell is not great, though. I have not had great luck with this cell. Neither has Quad 66. Oh, no, I said 16 grams. Wow, okay. So, yeah, that is a significant difference. That's a 6-gram difference. But this is a 380, so technically I would get a little bit more juice out of this battery. But again, neither me nor Quad 66 have had any luck with these 380 cells. They just don't seem to perform all that well. Oh, here we go, though. Here's a you just have to clip this PH 2.0 off and replace it with BT 2.0. So this would be a better bet. 350, 17 grams. And I think this is no, this is HV. Here's the problem, though, with these batteries is how the hell do you mount them? Like the Cockroach 75 frame comes with these brilliant little TPU jibby jabbies here to hold the little Tiny Whoop batteries. Those batteries there, you would need to... Oh, yeah, sorry. I wasn't sharing the right screen. But, yeah, you would need to either, like, custom print something, and then the batteries would be hanging down lower, and, yeah, so it wouldn't be as slick. I'm such a fan of that little Cockroach 75 frame double Jimpy Jompy battery holder. And it, like I said, it is super, super, super nice to just load up a bunch of Tiny Whoop batteries, and you can fly your 65s, you can fly your 75s, you can use one to discharge the other's batteries, right? Like, you don't have this separate set of batteries that only works on your tiny lifter. And yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Okay, so how is this going to fit here? I think I'm going to have to flip this thing upside down, but just out of curiosity, let's see what we would be able to do if we didn't flip it upside down. So this is not really going to work all that well, but let's at least take a quick look. I can't imagine you would really want to do it this way, but... Well, actually, it's not... Wow, it's not bad at all. The problem is you're not going to have access to the USB port. Although, I don't think you're going to have access to the USB port at all on this. Unless you run this thing sideways. upside down and sideways, it looks like. And that's not a terrible idea because the battery is going to be up on the top plate. So your battery leads will be going straight up. So I think the move here is going to be to run this sideways, and then it's just going to be kind of a pain in the ass to get the camera and whatnot plugged in. So let's do that now. I will plug in the little mini Mortal T. Plug in this little mini Mortal T up top here, which is now going to become the bottom. And right, got that. And then I'm going to plug the camera in. And then I have to plug in a video antenna as well. What am I going to use for a video antenna? I guess just like a whip antenna will work. Okay, so get this guy in here. All right, camera's plugged in. Now I just need a video antenna. And I think I'm just going to use a little whip because I don't think that... Yeah, I'm not going to use those little guys. Let me snag a little whip antenna out of my bag here. Hang on one second. Hold on, please. Where's my little bag with the antennas in it? There it is. All right, cool. And perfect. So, yeah. All right, we got to get everything plugged in all at once. Kind of a fiddly build, but I mean, it's such a simple build that, like, not that big of a deal. Okay. So now, how the hell, which direction am I going to run this? Should I run this like that? Yeah, I'm going to run this like that because that puts the camera plug as far forward as possible. Okay, so I'm going to run it like this, and then so what that means is this antenna needs to go out the side like that. Hold on, let's put this antenna over top of that one. Okay, so it's going to be out like this, so we're going to run this guy out the back. Looks like there's some provisions here for that. Sorta. Kinda. Yeah, I think that's what that is. But we'll add this later. So there's that, and then there's this extra little antenna that maybe I can find a little... No, there's no holes in the top plate. But I guess I can like run this guy sideways like that. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So run that guy sideways. I am going to get this Immortal T. I'm not going to like run a bunch of range with this thing. So I'm going to pop this Immortal T off, and I'm just going to replace this with another little whip, a little 2.4 tuned whip antenna that I've got. Hold on, let me snag that from over here. Do I have one in this little case? I do not. I should have one floating around though. I used the one on the lightweight BLV3 that we've been railing around, but I almost certainly should have another one here. I know I have one. The question is where. I don't want to run this receiver without an antenna plugged in. That is not usually a great idea. Balls. Where would that, if I were that antenna, where would I be? If I were a tiny little 2.4 gig tuned linear tiny whoop antenna, which one of these little cases would I be in? I think it's the bottom case here, of course. Let's see. Is that it? I think that's it. Get up here. Yeah! There we go. That's the one. Okay, beautiful. And I'm going to replace it with this little Immortal T. I know you guys can't see anything, but I'm coming back, I swear. Coming right back. Almost good. Okay. That's now in there. Put that one away. Put this one away. Put this one away. And we're good. All right, my hands are back. Hello. No one FPV says, just got back from getting stitches out. Jesus. Bubito, yeah, you know, I'm a sucker for punishment, so I will continue to build rigs that I already know that I'm not going to like, because everybody keeps telling me that I'm an idiot and that they know better than me and that, you know, X, Y, or Z build is the best flying build of all time. And then I build it and I'm like, what? No. And then they're like, oh, well, it's my first build, so I guess you're the idiot. I'm like, oh, yeah. You're not wrong. Okay, here we go. That is now good to go. I got those cables all kind of figured out. And so the question is, will this clear or will it hit the base plate? I bet you it'll hit the base plate. There's just like the most minimal amount of spacing on here. Kind of no reason to not put bigger spacers on right off the rip, but just out of sheer morbid curiosity, let's throw it on here and see what happens. Wow! That actually clears. I mean, it is real close. Real close. But technically speaking, I don't think there's anything that's hitting. Jesus. That's kind of impressive. I'm going to add, right now there's only 1 millimeter of spacing on the bottom. I'm going to bump that up to 2 millimeters of spacing just because the UFL is kind of close to the carbon. But yeah, technically speaking, with the little 1 millimeter spacers that they give you, you're good to go. Something that is important is that you run nuts down here so that these standoffs are solid and they're not going to wiggle around. You can't just run a non-threaded spacer here and then the AIO, because it's going to wiggle around and it's going to give you terrible gyro signal and it's going to just fly like a bag of donkey dicks. So don't do that. Don't let your rigs fly like donkey testicles. It's no fun for anyone. I've got my little kit of many things here. Let's find... so I can either just stack a 1 millimeter spacer up on top of these, or what I'm actually going to do is take some of these fancy little anodized 2 millimeter tall spacers and put those on this little bastard. I even have blue ones. Look at this. We're going to have an all blue Bubito. It's going to look so fancy, and then I'm going to fly like 3 batteries on it, and I'm going to go, what the shit? And I'll take it all back apart. You know. I mean, I'm going to give it a chance, though. I would love to love the way that this flies. I really would. Like, I don't hate on stuff just for the sake of hating on stuff. I hate on it because I don't like it, and or I don't think it makes sense, and or I'm in a bad mood. Hey, just being honest. Bob Bruce says, I'm excited for this. I have one of these frames, but I haven't felt the urge to build this yet. Well, don't hold your breath, my friend. Stevie says, sorry, pushers are more efficient. Look at the Lear fan. Tractor type are easier to engineer and fly. Pusher quads are the same, moving obstacles out of the high pressure areas. Yeah, it's the aerodynamics I mean, just aerodynamics in general are fascinating to me. I also, like, when I started to do some of this research the other night, and talking to Ryan and stuff like that, I also realized that there are different types of propellers. Like, there are pusher propellers, and then there are puller propellers. It seems, I didn't go too deep into down the rabbit hole, but it seems like basically what's going on there is pusher propellers are like turbofans, like, you know, what you see on the back of airplanes, and kind of what we're trying to create with the ducts on our Cinesplores, right? Versus puller propellers seem to be like what's on a regular airplane, like the open air style propeller with no guard or duct around it, which is what we build with our, you know, regular like 5-inch rigs and 3-inch freestyle rigs. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. I don't know if we'll ever get any actual tech on like the, you know, because nobody really has in FPV has the budget to get our stuff into wind tunnels where there can be some like really controlled testing done. But I mean, we do a really good job with that out in the real world by looking at like amp readings and just kind of like how long batteries last, right? Like if you fly 20 or 30 batteries in a row, you can gain some pretty valuable info from that exercise. Yes, technically speaking, maybe there was more wind on every single battery that you flew in a puller configuration, right? But typically not. If you've got a sample size that big, 30 batteries, right? It's pretty unlikely that every single time the one setup goes up, there's an issue. All right, so we are 2mm spacered. Now all is going to be right with the worlds. And this is going to have up tilt like that. This is going to sit like this. That guy is sitting in between those. Pull this little fella back a little bit here. And let's drop this down. Let's see what's what. Okay. And well, let me figure out which side I want this to go on. Yeah, that's fine. This on this side, that on that side. That'll work, I think. Okay. Got two on. Let's get the other two. There they are. All right, push them all the way down here. And there we go. Oh yeah, that's much better. That's a much more realistic gap in the base plate there. All right, cool. So now we're gonna get this camera thing figured out here. I think I'm just gonna try to bolt this guy down and see what's what. I hope this doesn't require a stupid diamond AIO. There's a chance that it might. I'm kind of fighting for space with this. Let me do this. Let me run this camera cable on the other side of this standoff. I think that might weirdly work a little bit better. Yeah, that uses up a little bit of the... Oh yeah, we're gonna be fine. Well, I don't know. These kind of hit that. I don't know what the hell the deal is with this. Why there's this extra material. I feel like maybe this was supposed to be connected here, but if this was connected... I don't know how the hell you'd get the camera in there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm actually gonna make this situation even worse by just cutting this top part off because it ain't doing shit. So might need to bug one, and I'm gonna cut the bottom piece off too because it ain't doing anything either. I might need to bug you guys for a Bubito camera mount at some point here, but maybe not. Maybe this will be fine. Okay, so there's that little guy there. Let's get this. All right. Let me get this this little plastic nut on here first. And this is a job for the nut grabber, which is available over on CiottiFPV.com when you click on my Amazon affiliate link. The nut grabber will grab your nuts and never let go. So get you one, because that's the dream, right? All right, so look at that. It just grabs your little nut, and then you hold it up, and it just threads on. And then your life is 10,000 times better, because you didn't have to sit there with your finger and try to get that shit to get on there 1,000 times. And then you grab another one. The trick is to grab it by the edges so that it picks it up flat. And then I didn't do a good job this time. There we go. Pick it up by the edges, put it on, spin it down. Logitech. Really? I'm using the nut grabber and you can't focus for me? How dare you not focus on the nut grabber? There we go. And the last one. Farts. Come on. Get it. There we go. And over here. There we go. And now come in with a little Weeha driver and snug these guys down a little bit. Real gentle like. Don't need to crank these. Absolutely no need to crank them. Just get a tiny little bit of tension on them and we'll be fine. All right, cool. Good to go. Move it around, make sure there's a little bit of motion. You want a little bit, but not too much. And then just take a look at how much threads are showing above the nuts that you're cranking down. I think I over-tightened this one a little bit. Let's just back this off a little. I think I over-tightened this one a little bit too. Just back it off. And cool. Back this one off a tiny little bit as well. The plastic nuts touching the rubber grommets will keep them from backing off usually, so you don't have to go crazy with that. Let's get this camera mount screwed down here real quick. See how that goes. Doesn't look like it's going to want to, but I might just need to put the screws in and then tighten it down. It seems to be pushing the TPU up against the base plate in some weird way. I don't know. Let's just throw screws in it and crank them down and see what happens. Maybe it'll blow up. Maybe it'll catch fire. And then that'll be the end of the live stream. I doubt it, though. Okay, so go back up to the bench cam. Wes says, I was saying that tongue-in-cheek. Nice. Marcelo FX says, I'm having build envy. Wait till I actually fly it before you feel too envious. But Erickson says, for sure, at this point, I'm a better builder than I am a pilot. No One FPV says, just got back from... Oh, we got that. No One FPV says, you're not an idiot. What you're doing is getting giveaways ready to go, right? Maybe. Just maybe. Erickson says, I fell victim to that peer pressure on the Odinata. It's fun in its own way, but I still prefer a toothpick. See? This guy knows what's up. Wes says, if you don't I think is what he meant to say, the Bubito, you can always send it to me when you're done building it. I can. Nothing's stopping me from doing that. No One FPV says, it's fun for the donkey. Steve V says, that efficiency gain is not sufficient to overcome flight characteristics or grinding your props down on a Cine. Beardy day, gotta go. Thanks for hanging, Steve V. Yeah, there are benefits to pushers. There are benefits to pullers. I'm still a big fan of pullers, if nothing else, then because they get the propellers more clear of the ground. Like, that's my biggest issue with pusher rigs, is that when you land them in grass, your life sucks. Especially with the smaller ones that don't really have the power to push the blades of grass out of the way. So yeah, there are definitely some pluses and minuses to either. A lot of pushers have come out over the past, I don't know, couple of years, I guess. So that platform is getting super, super, super popular. I think it's because the ducts fall away and it allows you to run the camera farther back before getting ducts in view. But you never know. There's a lot going on in these rigs. Little tiny rear piece here with, it looks like a provision for the whip antenna on one side and just any old antennas on the other side. So let's take a quick look at this. Yep, looks like that's exactly what this is. Unfortunately, though, the cable on the whip antenna is way too long, so this guy is going to be all the way up here, and it's just going to be... Although, I guess I can just force this up here like that, and then I'll get a little bit of space back, and then... yeah, I don't know. Let's try to get this a little bit farther down. Alright, so let's leave that there. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to route these two 2.4 antennas up through this extra little slot here just to kind of hold them. It's going to be a terrible antenna situation, but you're not going to be pushing range with this little thing, so whatever. So 1 and 2, those guys are both through there. And now I can pull this guy back, bunch up some of this video antenna, and we'll throw a screw through the bottom. And the thing I'm curious about is, will this video antenna be rubbing up against the AIO? If it is, I can probably just make a little bit of an angle with it and I'll be fine, but let's see. I'll get that screw kind of tight. There we go. And yeah, so it is kind of pushing up against the AIO, but like I said, I can just rotate this little TPU print ever so slightly, and now we're good. Now this is clear of the AIO. You always want to make sure that you don't have anything resting against the AIO, because that's going to transmit any vibrations that whatever that thing is that's resting against it into the AIO, and that's never good. This is a stout little camera mount now that this is kind of on here. And then this top plate's going to go on, but I need to get some motors on here first before I go that route, although it looks like I could probably put the top plate on and then mount the motors. But, I mean, not really saving any time doing that. So let's leave this off for the moment, and we'll mount up some motors, and then we'll be good to go. I am running these Tiny Whoop 0802 30,000 kV motors on here. These are the full can heavy motors that are really durable. And I'm going to need every little bit of durability I can get because this thing does not have any prop protection. Although I wonder if you could bolt ducts to this damn thing. Do I have an extra duct floating around here somewhere? Come on, I have to. Yeah, here we go. I wonder if you could, if this could, I mean, it would be really, really heavy, but let's see. Let's see real quick here. Will this clear a duct? Will this top plate clear? It will in the rear. It's kind of cool. What about up front? Up front, nope. It hits the, man, just barely, but it hits the camera mount. You might be able to just squeeze that on there if I'm honest. Let's see. This is a Cockroach 75 duct, which I think is a little bit bigger. Like if you look at this rig, you can kind of tell the Cockroach 75 duct is bigger than this Meteor 65 duct. So I think a Meteor 65 duct would drop right on there. So if you didn't like the fractal build, you could do this. Here's what I will say. This is going to be way heavier. I mean, we'll weigh it at the end here. It won't be a fair comparison because the fractal build is on 702s, but this setup with external ducts on it is going to be very, very heavy. And that's just going to sort of be tough. I don't really see the benefit of doing that, other than I guess that you'll have a top-mounted battery. But hey, it's, could be fun. I don't know. You might consider that to be a fun kind of setup. I think for me it would drive me nuts that the power to weight ratio would go to hell. But the camera would be up front with no duct in view, so that's kind of interesting. Nothing wrong with that. I hope these motor leads are... Oh, are you kidding me? My fucking motor leads aren't long enough? Oh, you rat bastard. So, that's super annoying. Yeah, these motor leads are not long enough. I will not be running 0802 30,000 kV motors. I will be... It's because I had to mount this thing with the USB sideways, and then that puts these motor leads front and back rather than left and right. If the motor leads were here, they would be closer to the little arm there. Oh my god, that is so incredibly annoying. That's almost annoying enough. Well, no, I can't. The camera cable. What if I rotate this? That camera cable will then go back there. And then I'll just have to take the top plate off every time I want to plug in, which is super annoying, but... Hold on. Will these even be any closer? Bottom... Yeah, they'll definitely be closer. It'll definitely be closer over here. How can I mark it? I'll mark it to the center line with this thing. All right, that's about center there. And then, yeah, no, it'll definitely be closer. If I rotate it, USB here, battery cable there, camera cable. I really want to use these motors. And I probably won't need to plug this thing in all that often. So I'm going to do it. It's such a quick little simple build. Yeah, there's no way to put the OSD or the USB out the bottom, unfortunately. There's just nowhere to put it. The only other option in motor are the newbie drone 0802 27,000s, and those are significantly heavier with less stuff. Shit. 27,000. I mean, I'm not going to like the way that it flies anyway. On one hand, I want to give this... Yeah, I'm not going to like the way it flies anyway. Actually, it's less work, though. It's less work to just... Because if I have to rob a set of those motors off of another rig, and so I'm going to have to remove 3, 6, 9, 12 screws, whereas to do this, I just have to remove a few screws here. So let's do this. I'm gonna rotate this. The USB is going to be less than accessible, but that's fine. I won't need to plug into this more than once or twice, fly it a couple times, realize that I hate it, and then get rid of it. Sorry, guys. Just being honest. All right, and... There we go. Trying to catch these screws before I loosen them so much that they disappear inside of the driver. Motoritzins felt victim to the peer pressure and owed it on it. Oh no, we got that. Stevie says, beauty day oops. Props on top also puts them better in line with the center of gravity. About to fly a Cinelog 35, smooth surfaces only, enjoy. Nice. Yeah, center of gravity is an interesting conversation with pusher versus puller. I think that with pushers, the center of gravity becomes too high, which is an interesting that's an interesting flight experience. Like the rig kind of rotates around a weird axis. It drives some people crazy. I remember at the very first Rampage when Wild Willie was still flying, he flew one of my 3-inch rigs, and that's what top mount battery 3-inch rigs, and he could not get past that. He was having such a hard time adjusting to the way that it rolls with the big heavy battery up top, in comparison to like a 5-inch freestyle rig, which has a pretty balanced top to bottom center of gravity. Kind of interesting. Interesting little difference in flight characteristics. It's I don't know if it's really flight characteristics as much as it's just kind of personal preference, to be honest. I don't think one looks better than the other per se. Oh man, the camera. Let me guess. The camera wire is not going to be long enough to do it this way. Nope. We're good. I think we'll be okay. Okay, so now I need to run this back this way. So I'll take this guy, and he's going to come out and then cross over like that. And now this other little fella is going to cross like that. Okay, cool. And then we'll fish this guy through here. Again, this is the BLV3 that I'm doing this build with. I bet you this is the only BLV3 Bubito
in the world.
And it's certainly going to be the best BLV3 Bubito
in the world.
That's for goddamn sure. All right, so here it is. Let's try this. The camera cord is just all up on the UFL, and I don't have a great way of solving that problem other than, let me try to put it under it. Let's pop this off, and I'm going to try to run this. I'm actually going to flatten the leads out here. I'm going to untwist the leads so that they're as flat as possible, and then I'm going to run this under the UFL, and I think that will be a slightly better setup here. So let me just move this guy out of the way. This is going to be a little fiddly here for a second. Get this guy plugged in. Okay, there we go. So that's plugged in, and now this camera is basically going completely sideways here. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's much better. Okay, so back to it. So that guy runs under there, and then it kind of turns that corner. Much better. Okay, great. So then this little fella's like this. That guy lines up there. I'm just making sure that with how tight this is, none of the wires are crossing over each other in any kind of weird ways. They gotta all be happy. And so I'm going to put this rear one on first, because that's where the wires are being the biggest pains in the asses. And now try to get the rest of these down here. There we go. Okay, I think I have everything. Yep. Everything is where it should be. And it looks like I might just have enough cable length for the camera, and I do, just barely. Okay, great. Okay, nut grabber, you're up. Grab me nuts. Wes says, if you run ELRS, can't you do Betaflight through ELRS? I'm not sure what that means. Betaflight through ELRS. I also don't know what that's in reference to. Is that just like a random question, or were we talking about something? But yeah, ask that in a different way. I don't know what that means. I mean, what I can say is that when you're updating Express LRS, there is the Betaflight pass-through option. If that's the question, then yes, there is a Betaflight pass-through option. I've never had any luck with that. I've only ever been able to get ELRS to bind and update through the Wi-Fi method, which is, I think, what most people use. But technically speaking, yeah, there is a Betaflight pass-through method. All right, grabbing some more nuts here. There we go. And one more. Got it. All right, nut grabber for the win. You can get your own by heading over to CiottiFPV.com and clicking the Amazon affiliate link. That's going to take you to the nut grabber. Okay. Lambo says that's the coolest use of the claw I've ever seen. Yeah, man. It's actually a jeweler's thing. I don't know. You'll see it when you click the link. You'll see it. It's really handy. I use it for all kinds of shit around the house when my big dumb fingers can't reach inside of places. The uses of the nut grabber do not only they extend beyond quads, is what I'll say. Very nice tool to have. Okay, I think those are cranked about perfect. Not too tight, not too loose. This one's too tight for sure. Man, did any of you guys play DayZ? What a fucking ruthless game, yo. It's fun though, man. God, it's fun. Super challenging. I'm a sucker for like impossible games. It's terrible. I mean, impossible anything, to be honest. But yeah, I've been having a blast playing that on. It's a PS4 game, but PS5 is backwards compatible. Thank God. You know, I realized the other day that they did not make the PS4 backwards compatible to the PS3, which really sucks because Gran Turismo 5, which was a PS3 game, has the Top Gear test track on it. And, like, what the hell, man? I have to literally hook up my PS3 in order just to fire that game up and drive around the Top Gear test track. That's some bullshit. So that was really annoying to realize that the other day. I was all excited at first because I'm like, oh, cool. I forgot about backwards compatibility. The PS5 will play PS5 and PS4 games, and then I'll just leave the PS4 hooked up, which will cover PS4 and PS3 games, or mainly just PS3 games. And then it's like, nope, just kidding. Screw you. You thought you could not have to have a third system hooked up? You didn't say the magic word. You didn't say the magic word. Please. What a movie. I rewatched the original Jurassic Park not too long ago. Holy shit, does it stand up. Holy hell, is that movie like kind of every bit as good in 2022 as it was when it first came out. The visual effects are like just barely good enough. Like there's so many things that are good enough in that movie. I was really impressed. That was kind of cool. All right, rear piece going on. The jokes still work. There's nothing like super topical in there that doesn't make sense anymore. I always love that, man. I always love when movies are timeless or shows are kind of timeless and they really hold up. It's pretty rare, man. It's an easy trap to put a bunch of like more current stuff into your content. And then over time, people don't understand that current shit anymore, and it becomes very dated and or just not as good because like the jokes don't hit because, you know, Nancy Reagan isn't currently saying dumb shit or any other number of weird things that can happen. But yeah, there's that, which is interesting. Okay, so the antenna situation is not great, but it's going to be fine. It's a tiny little rig. It's not going to go very far. And we actually do have almost a 45-degree situation here with these antennas. So it's not the worst, but admittedly it's not great. And for all I know, it could get sucked into the props immediately. I hope not. Okay, now let's see if the motors will fit. They still might not. They still might not make it. I should have tested this before cranking stuff down. But let's see. Fuck! They don't... Oh my god. Oh, wow. Oh, the props are gonna hit them. How the hell? How does this build even work? The props are gonna hit the effing motor wires. What? How would this even work? Do you have to run a... What? How? What? What is happening? Is this real life? How would this... How is this gonna work? I don't understand. I don't understand this one bit. Let me get a screw in here. Let me get 2 screws in here. So the cables are long enough. Just barely, but they are long enough. But then, as soon as I put a propeller on this, the prop is just going to hit the fucking motor wire. Oh, man. You know... I guess you have to direct solder the... yeah, Metal Distance says, now you know why I ended up direct soldering mine. God damn it. Wes says, the hacking scene always kills me. That GUI is painful. What hacking scene? What movie were we talking about? I don't even remember. Wes says, I remember hearing somewhere that with the new version of ELRS, you can do Betaflight configuration over the ELRS Wi-Fi link. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. ELRS 3.0 does that. That's pretty cool. Mike Duran's in the chat. What's up, homie? Yeah, these motors won't work. The propellers are gonna hit the ruddy motors. Oh boy! All right. Well, this has been an emotional roller coaster. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at this. This is maddening. Just for the sake of argument, let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is a Gemfan biblade, and, well, it doesn't hit it. Yep, it sure does. It absolutely does hit that. I mean, I guess if the motor wires were a little bit longer, I could just pinch them straight down, but that's still kind of silly. Like, you would then need to go under the arm and wrap it around to kind of keep it clear. That is what I'm about to do. Oh, boy. Really? The hacking scene in Jurassic Park. I got it. Yep. Yeah, the GUI was brutal. I mean, it was old Macintosh, so, I mean, for me, it was, like, very normal. All right, yeah, so we're not using these motors. God damn you. That's not the end of the world, though, because I did want to run a tri-blade on this rig, and it doesn't really make much sense to have this with a tri-blade. Yeah. This 30,000 kV motor on a tri-blade doesn't really make... Although, I did want more power. Okay, so I'm going to have to... I'm gonna have to jack off one of these Acrobrats with the 0802 27,000s. Wes says, is the AIO right side up? Nope, it's upside down because the USB port has to have somewhere to go. I guess what I could do is flip it back upside down, put the AIO right side up, but then the problem is to plug into the USB port, I'm going to have to take the AIO off. And that ain't happening. There are no provisions on the bottom for the AIO anywhere. So you have to face or for the USB port, I should say. So you literally have to face the USB port upwards. And then that has your battery leads facing upwards, which is the problem that we're running into here. So, okay. So we're going to durability test. This is going to be a platform that we use to durability test the Newbie Drone Flow 0802 27,000 kV motors. I'm going to put it on tri-blade props, and yeah, that's basically what this is going to be. So these 30,000s are not going to work. The cables that I have soldered on are just too short. I am going to hang on to these, though, because I am going to put these onto the mosquito frame. More pain coming at you. Yeah. Hold on. Let me grab that mosquito frame out of, I think, this box here. And then we'll have two of these rigs that I hate the way they fly. That's a little mean, but you know, gotta stick with what you're good at. Where the hell is that little jibby jabby? Where's that little mosquito frame at? Is it in here? No? Where the hell is it? I put it somewhere because I was like, ooh, I should do a build with this at some point again. There it is. Found it. Yeah, there's a little mosquito frame. Okay, cool. So, yeah, we'll have something to do with this. Little mosquito frame on 1S with the 30,000 kV motors, and we'll see how they do. Cool. Mosquito, and then I need the little hardware pack, and then that should have everything I need. Okay, cool. Boy, oh boy. This is taking a turn. Okay, so this guy. Mosquito build will be quick, too. That'll be fine. And what did I do with those motors? I put them on the floor. Okay, so these motors will have a home at another time. But for right now, we are going to cannibalize this Crossfire Acrobee and steal the motors off of it. I mean, I could put those motors onto those motors that I was just about to put on that little mosquito frame onto this. That's an interesting idea. Hold on. Should I pull the motors off of this or off of the purple one? The purple Acrobee is my ELRS Acrobee, and like I've changed out the canopy and stuff on that, so it's already like kind of upgraded. This thing is kind of interesting because it's a completely stock Acrobee. Like if anybody asks me to fly an Acrobee around the house to see what it's going to be like, I can put this up in the air. Why is the rear screw missing? Did that break off or did that vibrate out? Nope, it broke off. It broke the standoff off the frame. Okay, so this So this Cockroach 65 frame is broken. So I'm going to rob the motors off of it. Because I need to take the motors off of it anyway, because the frame is broken. That works. Frankly, oh, we got that. Man, this is going to be a long stream today. That's okay, though. I'm down if you guys are. We're already 2 hours 45 in. Jesus. Well, this is the last part of the troubleshooting, though. There shouldn't be any troubleshooting beyond this. And those wires that I put onto the onto those, so those are Tiny Whoop 802s, and those wires. Somebody type into chat. Motor 1 is red. Those wires were from one of the original Newbie Drone 0802s, and they were very short wires. And I kind of did that on purpose to see if like really short wire leads would save a significant amount of weight, which it does not. It just kind of bites you in the ass. But then alternatively, these 802 motors here, these motor leads are way too long, so this is kind of go in the opposite direction, but that's okay. At least it's going to work. All right, Crossfire Acrobee is now motorless. I will either figure out another set of motors to put on here, or I don't know. Maybe somebody needs a Crossfire AIO, and this thing will find a new home. Okay, here it is. Is anybody desperate for a Crossfire BLV3? That's all set. I wish that it would run properly on 2S, because then I could make a tiny lifter with it. It would be nice to have a tiny lifter that's on Crossfire, so I don't have to bring an extra module. But yeah, the BLV4s are not loving life on 2S, and I'm not going to try it a third time until the Newbie Drone folks get back to me with something, anything. Absolutely anything would be nice. So now I might as well re-rotate this goddamn AIO. Nah, let's leave it like this. We'll leave it like this, because the battery lead is at a better spot with it like this. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Battery lead's going to go back like that and then hook up to the battery towards the rear. Yeah, let's leave it like this. I just can't stomach ripping this thing apart again. Tommy Newton says, me? Message me, Tommy. No guarantees. Motor 1 was red, but this board is now upside down and backwards. So if this board was in the right orientation, motor 1 would be here. So let's plug this in, and let's see what's going on here. So now I'm going to have to figure out what to do with all the extra motor wire. And maybe I want to go outwards with it and then wrap it around like that, I guess. Maybe that's the move. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's totally the move. And then the motor drops down like that. World's first Newbie Drone BLV3 Bubito. It's even got the BLV3 motors on it. What you know about that? Yep, that's fine. Nope, no it's not. The props still hit the motor wires. It might just barely clear. Let's throw a couple screws in it and see what's what. All right, and there we go. Come on now, be cool. There we go. Angle this up a little bit. Wait, no, let's do this. I'll put it up as high as it'll go, but then I'll angle it down like that. It might be out of focus, but I mean, eat it. Dub Squared says must be called Bubito. Nice. Wes says I'm sure Bubby's ears are burning. Yo, Bubito. Hell yeah. Bubeeto. Perfect. So this will obviously be on another stream where I fly it around. I'm not really going to fly it tonight. It's dark. And quite honestly, I'm just tired of building at this point. But the propeller still hits the motor wire. That is absolutely infuriating. Let's see if can I like shift it out of the way? Where does so the propeller spins closest to the board here. So it's closest to the board right there, which is towards the front. So technically speaking, I want to run these. It would be better to run these wires the other way. Man, is this really a build where you have to direct solder the motor wires? That's super disappointing if that's the case. Oh man, I mean it's not hitting it, but like it's gonna hit it. All right, so hold on. Let's lift these wires up and send them the other direction and see what that's like. Okay. So if I wrap them up like that, there we go. Okay. So the wires just need to be kind of routed inwards like this. And then it's got clearance. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's the trick. So yeah, you got to have extra long motor wires for this. And luckily, yeah, these Nubidrone motors have that. Okay, so this is now props in. That's weird. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reverse the props. It's fine. Here we go. Motor number 2. We're gonna run the wires backwards and then out, and then they're gonna go under, and then up over, and we're there. Okay, sits like that. And now just need some screws. Okay, I'll do the outside one first. Come on, there we go. All right, so if you get your driver on one of these screws, you can take your index finger and kind of hook your fingernail around the tip of the arm, and now you can hold the entire frame. And now with your left hand, you just take your motor and guide it onto the screw, and away you go. That's the easiest way that I've found to do a lot of these really fiddly jobs. And then once you get the first one on there, just don't tighten it, and then you can just rotate the motor to line up the other ones. This works on 4-bolt motors as well. You just basically want to be able to get control over the screw and the frame with just your right hand, so that you can use your left to guide the motor on in. Okay, got that one. And just make sure we got this motor wire folded backwards here to really get it out of the way. And that now looks really good. All right. The Bubito. Fuck yeah. Look at that, neat and tidy. Look at how neat and tidy that is. Both neat and tidy. I'm just gonna do just to mess with everyone. I'm gonna do red motors in the back because that'll keep me from having to reverse the propellers on the right side. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to reverse the rotation of the motors anyway. So yeah, that's fine. And it's actually easier to reverse the motor rotation than it is to take the props off and on. Okay, folding the motor backwards here. And then we're going to go around here, down and then around. Hold it roughly in place. We're going to get a screw, throw it in there, screw head on, index finger to control the frame, and now just walk in this outer motor hole. Spin the screw backwards to get it to click to make sure that you're not cross-threading it, and then don't tighten it all the way down. And now we've got our extra two. Stop it, stop it, get off. I started watching Florida Man on Netflix. It's okay. It's, I don't know. It's all right. Nothing wrong. I'm not, like, blown away, as I'm sure you can tell. But it's all right. I think I'm in the 3rd episode. Maybe it gets better. Kind of cool. They make fun of Florida a lot. Favorite pastime here in the U.S. Ragging on Florida. Okay. 3 motors are on. Red motor wires are in the back for absolutely no reason. Tommy Newton says, bless you. Thank you. I don't even remember sneezing. Maybe I said something silly. Wes says, could you add a spacer of some sort under the motor? You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Wes, because the damn thing comes with motor spacers. That would make an awful lot of sense. Yeah, it comes with these little TPU printed spacers for under the motors. So yeah, that would make some sense, because when you look at this from the side, the propellers swing like perfectly level with the top of those motor plugs. I know it's not in focus, but you know, write a letter to Logitech that says, "Fix yo shit, you idiots." There we go. There's focus. So yeah, the props are like perfectly even with the top of those connectors. So with those spacers, it would lift it up a little bit more. I don't think it would lift it up quite enough, though, if I'm honest. But I'm sure they were packaged in there for a reason, and I can't think of another reason. Last one here. Okay, run it down and around. I don't know. This method seems completely fine. I still don't think that it would have worked. It would have worked with those other motors. It might have, but my gut tells me that it would have still hit those motor wires, even with those spacers on it. And those spacers are going to add weight. TPU is very heavy, so I'm happy to be doing this without those spacers, if I'm honest. Just to keep the weight in check. You know, we're already running... well... I wonder if those other motors with the spacers are the same weight as these newbie drone motors. These newbie drone motors are a little bit heavy. But hey, if I'd used those other motors, we couldn't really call it the Bubito. And to be honest, that's the greatest name that I've ever heard of. That's one of the best mashups in a name that I think I've ever heard. So well worth it to be able to call this thing the Bubito using these motors. And these motors are great. I mean, with these tri-blade props, these motors do make really good power. I've been really surprised at how much power the Acrobees make. So yeah, I'm totally fine with this setup. I think this is a perfectly valid setup for this. Those 30,000s, like, yeah, they would make more power, but like, I don't think they're gonna make enough extra power for this thing to really all of a sudden make sense outside. The main issue with these rigs is that they don't, these non-ducted tiny little rigs, is that they don't have ducts. The problem isn't necessarily that they don't make enough power. It's that, yeah, without ducts, you can't fly them inside, and they're very slidey. And with them being very slidey, they're hard to shoot the little tiny gaps that are very common in the little tiny spaces where you would want to be flying these things. So yeah, there's that. Swapping these two propellers so that this thing is props out. And then we'll bolt the top plate on and we're kind of done. Although actually, I'm not... Oh man, that propeller just fell on there. Let me score up the inside of this prop so that it fits a little bit better on there. The way that I do that is I take these fine-tipped tweezers that I don't really care too much about, because the tip is already broken off on the one. I put it diagonally inside and I just push it and rotate it on the inside. What I'm trying to do is raise some of the plastic on the inside of the prop mounting so that it'll grab the shaft a little bit better. And I do it to the top as well. This works unbelievably well for tiny whoop propellers that are not fitting as nice as they once did. And so, yep, now it's the perfect amount of tension on there. Look at that! That's a good-looking little guy. These motors are sexy, man. These are the best-looking 802s without question or shadow of a doubt. Look at these motors, man. Look at that motor bell. Ooh, looks like a TE37, yo. So there you go. There's a Bubito. There's a Bubito. Wes says you should watch some of the videos Bubby has done with that thing. It's rather amazing. It is. But I mean, what you're seeing is him being a just complete alien pilot. It has very little to do with this rig, if I'm completely honest. I know that sounds mean and awful, but it's the goddamn truth. I have flown all of these different styles of rigs, and as a pilot that's like, okay, but not really great, this is very difficult to fly. So, like, if you're as good of a pilot as Bubby, then, yeah, you'll be able to do the same stuff that he does, but, like, there's probably only 5 or 6 people on Earth that are that good. So, yeah, it's, this is not a build for the faint of, for the faint of heart. Like, this is this'll be the most challenging rig that you ever fly, really. And... yeah, man, I hope those little TPU... I hope these little TPU things aren't vibration related. I hope that this thing is flyable like this. Alright, so let's plug this in and get the motors spinning the right direction. And then, like, I'll hover test it and limp it around the room, but this is not something that you can really fly with any vigor inside the house, because you're just going to be, it's just going to be so slidey that it bounces into the walls all the time, and then it's going to leave horrible marks on the walls. It's going to wreck the props and the motors. This is a pretty outdoor specific kind of build, but we'll at least get it running. And then yeah, Ethan W says, I think Bubby freestyles with one of the worst rigs. Yeah, it's true. Like, his 5-inch rig is just one big walking meme. Like, if anybody other than him flew it, it would be a complete nightmare. But he's an absolutely incredible pilot. Like, if he flew a proper rig, he would fly so much better. But, you know, he doesn't need to. That's a weird thing to say. He doesn't need to. I don't know about that, but He chooses not to. That's what I'll say. Nose down, nose up, roll right, roll left, yaw right. Good to go. Board orientation is now correct. We're going to go to motors. I'm going to plug a battery in. Hopefully it doesn't blow up. Didn't blow up. It's a good sign. And we are going to hit... it is set up for props out. That's good. Motor direction. I understand the risks. Wizard. Everything is clear of the props. Start and spin motors. Motor 1 is wrong. Motor 2 is wrong. Motor 3. Oh, the motors are in the wrong spots. So we're going to stop this. We need to reorder the motors first. Start. That is the left rear. That's the left front. Right rear. Right front. There we go. All right, now we can save this, and then we can get the motor spinning the right direction. Wes says, so you don't like the Moxie. I do not. It's needlessly heavy, and yeah, I mean, that's just the main thing. It's just needlessly heavy. That is... part of that is a personal thing. Part of that is that, like, there should be cutouts to save weight. It's just silly to not save weight on a frame in areas where the extra carbon doesn't accomplish anything. You could take carbon out of those areas and then run a bigger battery for more runtime, or run a heavier camera, or any number of other things. Like, the majority of these new Rotor Riot frames with like no cutouts at all, it's just a waste. It's just a waste of weight for no performance benefit whatsoever. Or you could put that extra weight into the arms so that the arms are even thicker and even more indestructible. But I actually disagree with that as well. The arms being indestructible don't make your motors any more durable, and motors are kind of the weakest link. So a lighter weight, thinner arm actually helps that out significantly. And yeah, I find that you stay in the air a lot more often with arms that break before your motors. Because basically arms are easy and cheap to replace, motors are expensive and a bitch to replace. Not a bitch, but they're just annoying to replace. Okay, motors are in the right spots. PIDs are fairly relaxed. This will be interesting. I'm going to not change anything and just put this up in the air, and we'll see how it is. So this was in a plastic frame. What the hell? Why is the dynamic notch turned off? This ain't gonna fly well like that. That's weird. How the hell did that get turned up? Why did it turn itself back off? What? Stay on, you dick. Watch this. It was sitting here off. I turn it on. I hit save. And it turns itself back off. What is that about? What are you doing? Is it turned off in configuration, maybe? Hold on, let's see. I didn't think you could turn it off in configuration anymore. Now you can't. What the hell is that about? What? There's a PID loop on 1.6. Should be on 3.2. Bidirectional D-shot is turned off. It has to be turned off on the BLV3. It does not work with it on. I have no idea why. I have not gotten an answer on that from Newbie Drone either. What the hell? What am I missing here? What am I missing? Motor output limit, throttle boost, thrust linear, save that. My rates are in here. That's great. Oh, now it's back on. That was weird. That was very weird. Okay, we're good though. Gyro filter multiplier is super aggressive. D-term is not super aggressive. And everything else should be fine. This was a flying rig. Man, that was super weird. All right, let's throw the top plate on and we'll see if it will fly. There's no battery hooked up, Jason. No battery to change. All right. So the Bubito is done. Let's see if there's any magic to it that the other... I mean, the magic is potentially the top plate and the top mounted battery. So as tongue-in-cheek as I'm being about, you know, magic that this thing might have that other rigs of this sort do or don't have. Yeah, I mean, maybe this will change my mind. It's certainly not going to change my mind inside the house. So yeah, I'll really need to fly this, which I'll take care of outside, which I'll take care of like tomorrow, and or Friday, so that I can get back to you. Oh well, no, actually, shit. There's no live stream on Friday. I forgot about that. Sorry. Yeah, Friday I'll be at the Snarky Puppy concert, so no live stream Friday. Maybe I'll do something on Saturday afternoon. No promises, but maybe I'll do something Saturday. This camera mount is pushing up on the top plate. Kind of interesting. Can this camera mount slide down a little bit? Not really. Now it's pushing on the bottom plate. And now my camera is no longer straight. So let me see if I can fix that. Like I can visibly see that the camera is in here crooked. This is a Newbie Drone BI camera. Since it's the Bubito. I don't know about this camera mounting. Maybe there's another camera that fits better than this, but the Newbie Drone BI camera doesn't fit super well in here. I mean, it's not that bad, but I can't seem to get it level. It doesn't seem to want to sit level. And if you've ever flown with it, if you've ever realized that you're flying terrible, and sometimes it can be that the camera is off center. It's like really important to get your camera dead ass level. But I am having a hard time with that in this. Let me just keep at it though. Camera is also pushing up against the standoffs, which is never great. I guess that's as level as I'm going to be able to get it. I don't know what this thing's deal is here. I don't know why it won't sit level. Maybe this TPU piece on the top is not centered, I guess. I'm very confused by this camera mount. It doesn't... I don't understand it at all. I feel like maybe Brandon snipped the piece in the back. Maybe if that hadn't been snipped, maybe it would be better. But yeah, this camera mounting TPU piece is not my favorite. Now what I'm trying to do is push the camera in a little bit to see if maybe that'll help. I don't know though. I don't know. There's also a shitload of up tilt on this. That'll be fine once we're outside, but me trying to fly this around the house in a minute from now is going to be a mess. Yeah, I mean, I got the camera as level as it can be. It's not perfect, but it's about as good as I think I'm going to get it. Oh, God. It just won't level all the way out. It just won't level the rest of the way out. Strange. All right, that's pretty close though. That's hopefully close enough for government work. When is Rampage? Who's got the date to Rampage? Is it the end of May? I hope it's not on top of a cycling race. Better not be. All right, so battery goes in like this, and then it's about as far as you can get it before it's going to get in the way of the camera. And then the lead, let me do this with the battery lead. I want to make sure that I keep this out of the propellers. Let me take this ELRS antenna wire and push it down, and now I'm going to take this battery lead and I'm just going to cross it over to the other side, which is just going to tuck it in a little bit better. I'll also kind of hold down that ELRS wire. Okay, cool. And now by doing that, it's not long enough. Awesome. Yep, nope, it's not long enough now. I can't keep pushing the battery forward because it's going to foul on the camera. So, what do I do here? The majesty of custom builds. Alright, now we're good. So I would have just put a pretty harsh angle on these wires. Hopefully they don't break. All right, let's see. Let's see if it fries. Should have video. Hey! Video! Wes says, Nazgul Evoke. What about it? Oh, I have a Nazgul Evoke 6S with Vista. I beat the crap out of the frame and want to transplant it, but can't decide on a new one. Man, there's a lot of good frames out there, and they all have like individual pluses and minuses and things that are good about them, things that are bad about them. So yeah, start looking around. I mean, that like, ask yourself, like, really dive down into like why am I replacing this frame? What am I looking for improvements in with this? And that's how you want to kind of approach it, so that you're, you know, if you're looking for something that, yeah, I don't know how else to describe that. I think it's been plugged in so long that it went into Wi-Fi mode because it won't bind. Yeah, it's flashing fast. All right, unplug, plug it back in. Hopefully it'll bind this time. And there it is, I think. Come on, buddy. Come on, little guy. You can do it. You were a working rig 20 minutes ago. What the hell? Really? Hey! That was weird. What the hell? What? What the hell? What's your deal? What is this single beep that's happening? What was this? This BLV3 was in the tiny lifter? It was completely fine in there. What the hell is going on? What? what's happening? Why you gotta be like this? Well, it's back into Wi-Fi mode again. Stop going into Wi-Fi mode, dude. What the hell? Everything's plugged in fine. I guess maybe I'll try to rebind it. I don't know why I should have to, but you know. Bind mode. Well, wait, now it's fine. Okay, that's the weirdest thing ever. Look at this adorable little thing! What a little cutie! What an adorable little thing! I mean, if nothing else, it's cool looking. That ELRS problem was very weird, though. All right, let's limp it around the basement. Maybe I'll go upstairs, too. Let's see. Not much power. It feels pretty heavy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Careful, careful. Feels very heavy. Whoa! Ooh! Oh, God, there's the slidiness. Okay, easy, easy, easy. This is not a regular tiny whoop. It's actually not as slidey as I would expect. Oh boy. Oh. Easy. Oh boy. Oh. Yeah, I mean, without the guards, you can't. You just can't really do much. Oh God. Oh man, coming down the stairs is gonna be a motherfucker. Oh God, don't hit the plants, you'll kill them. Oh boy, no, no, no. Oh God, okay, okay, okay. Kill that battery. Now it's doing the weird ELRS shit again. What in the world? Did you guys happen to notice the signal strength upstairs? Was it a mess or was it okay? Yeah, it doesn't have great power to weight ratio. As you can see, like those full throttle blasts didn't accomplish anything. Like it went up a little bit, but mainly it's just adorable. If you're looking for a rig that's absolutely adorable, this is the one. I've never seen anything quite so cute. Let's weigh it. So regular tiny whoops are right around 19 to 20 to 21 grams dry. This little heifer, oh, what a fat shit. 27.2. Oh, man, it feels every one of those 27.2 grams. Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. That's a tough one there. That is just way too heavy, man. I mean, that is just way too heavy. Way too heavy. You could save a 0.5 gram by direct soldering your motors. You could go with lighter weight motors and maybe shave another gram, maybe. Probably not. Probably just a half a gram. Biggest thing that you would want to do is get some of this TPU off here, which I'm actually going to do that right now. Let me see if I've got a rubber band. Well, although rubber bands are kind of heavy. How the hell do we hold the battery on here in a way that's super lightweight? Ooh, I got these little tiny rubber bands. Ooh, yeah. I got these little tiny guys. I bet you I can put 2 of these on here. All right, so let's see if we can put this thing on a diet, because I'm gonna rip it right apart if I can't bring the weight down, kind of right away. Let's pull the top plate super quick, and I just want to see what this battery holder up top weighs. This is a big chunk of TPU. The batteries fit in there really nicely. Kind of sad to see it go, but yeah, this is just asininely chunky at the moment. 27 grams. Yikes. All right. So yeah, this is what it looks like, this big blue bastard. So let's take this guy off. And it's also got 2 screws going into it. So let me fire up the scale, and I'm going to weigh these screws and this TPU piece. So the screws are... Come on. Garter Rotor says 35 millimeter props can pull a little more weight. Sometimes, like the 0802 motor size though is pretty well optimized for the 1.2 inch props. There we go. That's a full gram. Okay, so we're gonna replace that piece and those screws with 2 stupid little hair tie rubber bands, and I don't even think that they'll register on the scale. Let me drop them onto the scale. It went from 1.0 to 1.1, so they are... Yeah, rubber's very heavy. It's like as heavy as TPU, I think. But hopefully this will be better. I don't know if these are... Are these small enough to hold it? No, they're not. Fuck. Oh, man. Yeah, these aren't going to work. I need a rubber band that's like the exact right length to be able to double it up and hold this battery down. What about one of these longer rubber bands? If I double this over... Ooh, yeah. This is the move. Okay. So this guy on that top plate. Let's see. Shit, it's still too loose. Damn it. I could triple this one up. I do have this big thick fella in here. Maybe this guy's the answer. But it's thicker. Let's see if this guy doubled up. The problem's going to be it can't... In order for me to be able to grab the rubber band, it's got to be like just the right length so that it's not like stuck to the base. Yeah, this is the one. This is it. This is the way. And the one. And the way and the one. The one in the way. Yeah, this is it. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so this is the rubber band that we're going to be working with here, and I can just kind of pull it back like that, and then it'll hit on both sides. Okay, good. So that's a gram. That's great. There is a little tiny TPU piece in the rear, but man, it's a lot more slim than this big chunky battery holder. And and it's holding the antennas in a way that they don't get annihilated, so I'm not going to change that. I didn't use those, I did not use those motor spacers, and I'm glad that I didn't, because it doesn't seem to need them. So I think that's kind of it. There's really nothing else that's going to lighten this thing up anymore. The Happy Model AIOs are a little bit lighter than this newbie drone AIO, so you could save 1/4 to 1/2 gram by doing that. Direct solder the motors. That would save 1/2 gram, maybe a whole gram. If you did really short little wire runs directly to the pads, maybe you could save a whole gram. That's really about it. The TPU camera mount up front is kind of as minimal as it can be. I don't really see a way of shrinking that down. It's just a fat little rig. It's just a little fatty. That should be what it's called, the little fatty. LIL fatty. That's the new name for the Bubito. The little fat. Yeah, man, that's heavy. That's really heavy. Oh, you could go down to smaller motors. What I would recommend is going all the way down to 702s. The only problem with that's going to be 702s are going to force you to run a bi-blade, and then when you crash this thing with a bi-blade on it, it's going to be really hard on the motors. So if you go that route, make sure you get a bunch of extra 702s because you're going to need them. You're going to rip through motors. I built this with 802s specifically so that I could run tri-blades on it. You know what? You could also do 603s. 603s would actually be the best bet. Hopefully we'll get some 30,000 kV 603s, and then they would be perfect for this. They would probably shave maybe another whole gram off of this. So now with the rubber band on the top plate, we're down to 26.3. Much better. Still way too heavy though. If I'm honest, I hate to be a dick, but yeah, like I would so much rather have a regular old 60-foot, like, you know, one of these mega tiny whoops at 19 grams, 19.5 grams. Christ, some of them are even down into the 18 gram range. That is going to give you I mean, the difference in power to weight ratio is crazy. The 2X Whiskey says switching to nylon screws will shave 3 grams. Just weighed them. Jesus. He says, sorry, 2 grams, not 3. Gardo Rotor says, what about a shitty Diamond AIO? Diamond AIO will save you 1/2 gram, but you'll throw the rig in the garbage can because that AIO is such a piece of dog shit. So I don't recommend that. Nylon screws are interesting. They break all the time and they're super annoying, but they are very lightweight. So if you're not going to crash it hard, you might be able to get away with nylon screws for a little while. But like on crashes, they are going to break. You know, you could swatch. It's a 1/2 gram weight savings to move from metal motor screws to Rennie motor screws, but they break as well. And they break in plastic frames, so on a carbon fiber frame, they're going to break a lot. So yeah, that's not for me. These metal screws are a little long. You could maybe save some weight by just going to shorter Metal screws, they're not that long. I mean, you could go like 1 millimeter shorter, maybe, but that's about it. Do titanium screws. I have a big pile of titanium screws sitting here. Let me see something. What length are these TI screws? They're longer. Damn it. I was hoping they would be the same length or shorter. So yeah, titanium screws really aren't going to do much because the only ones that are available are a little bit longer. All right. Well, it's been 3.5 hours. I think that's about all I got. Right 9 says LQ 497 worse. It seems click glance back at the footage. Very cool. Yeah, man, this is just a heavy build. It's just a fat little fella. Just a little chubby boy. That's all. What was it when it here? Let's just out of sheer morbid curiosity. Let me get a stack of M2 by 4 screws out here, and we'll see what it would weigh with those. It currently looks like it ships with M2 by 5, and you could almost certainly get away with these M2 by 4s, but I'll bet you the weight savings is not really significant. So like 4 of these M2 by 4 screws, and now 5, and now 6. No, it's not enough. So these 4 screws by themselves are 0.8 of a gram. So 1 extra millimeter on each of these. We could probably do the math. So that's 4 millimeters long. So then 5 millimeters long is 25% more weight. So 25% of 0.8 is roughly what, 0.15. So you could save, I think, 0.15 of a gram. There's only 6 screws in this. Yeah, so I think you'd only save like 0.2 of a gram. It's not nothing, but I'm not gonna do that. That's silly. Switching over to nylon screws would make more sense, and then just replace them pretty frequently. The reason the nylon screws are going to break mainly is that this is a top mount battery. So when you crash the battery up top, the battery on the top plate is going to try to do this or this or this or this to those standoffs. And when you're using nylon screws, that just pops the heads of those nylon screws right off. Like I said, you can get away with it for a minute, but it gets pretty frustrating. So yeah, I mean it's a heavy build. It's got a bunch of carbon. It's got some TPU. You know, this is a great lesson in like how lightweight our tiny whoops are, and how difficult it is to achieve that, right? You know, this seems like a really good idea. It's really slimmed down. There's some serious cutouts, but you know, compared to tiny whoop frames that have been developed for 6 or 7 or 8 years, yeah, this is. If you could get really powerful motors on this and some bigger propellers, this would make a lot more sense. This would make a lot more sense sized up for 1.6 inch props. This with these 1.2 inch props, even if you go up to the 35 millimeter props, which there is not a lot of clearance here. I think to do the 35 mil props, you would have to add these spacers, and then that's adding even more weight. So I really wouldn't want to do that. I think this is kind of it. I think this is about as good as it's going to get. Rubber band up here on the top plate. Let's throw one more battery through it, and then we'll shut this down for the evening. See if I can notice any difference with the 1-ish gram weight. It's probably less than a gram of weight savings though, because that was with the smaller battery. This battery's a little bit bigger. I'm sorry, rubber band. This rubber band's a little bit bigger. It is nice and quiet, but so are tiny whoops. All right. There's the battery sitting up there on a rubber band. See if ELRS wants to be cool this time or if it's still going to be a jerk for no reason. Better Vincent says, I also crashed and had the battery fly right out the front, so keep that in mind while routing the battery. If I was going to keep this, I would figure out a way to... Okay, this battery is at 3.4 volts. That's not going well. But why? Why is this battery discharged? Is that the one that I just flew? I don't think so. What's happening here? Am I losing my mind? I'm losing my mind. This battery goes here. That battery goes there. Tell you what, this is a hell of a workout for these 802 27,000s. That runtime was not all that great. That's a battery that I was like plugging and unplugging though. This is a completely fresh battery, so let's see what the runtime is like on this guy. Should be a lot better. Yeah, I can totally see the battery flying right out the front of this thing. Yeah. What I was saying before though, if I was gonna keep this, I would figure out how to put like a little piece of grip or something like that on the top plate here to keep the battery in. But I can't really see a world where I'm gonna continue to fly this. But it's a great little experiment. Nothing wrong with experimenting. What the hell is going on with this? Why is it not binding? Bind, you little jerk. You have two antennas. Now it's back into fucking Wi-Fi mode. Oh, man. It's a mess. 661 says, quick question. Have you heard anything about someone working on a 1.5 millimeter shaft 702? Have you seen T-Motor just release 703 motors? I haven't heard of any 1.5 mil shaft 702s. I don't think that's a great idea because there just aren't any batteries. There aren't any propellers that would make any sense with. And I haven't had any shaft bending issues with the 702s because they're so light. And yeah, I did see T-Motor release the 703, and they just didn't consult anyone on KV, and they put it out in 19,000 KV, which is the stupidest shit ever. So I don't get it. I guess maybe you could run it on 2S, but I wouldn't. Yeah, okay. I don't know. This BLV3, the ELRS is not doing well. It's not living its best life. And I have no idea why. It was completely fine in the tiny lifter. Let me try to rebind it, which is what magically got it working last time. Maybe just threatening to bind it is all it needs. Or maybe it's my module. My module is acting a little bit funny right now. Let's power cycle the module real quick. There it goes. I think it was a module problem. That was weird. I haven't had any issues with this module. Strange. Okay. So I mean the battery drained down a little bit, but not that bad. Jesus. Very different flight experience without the ducts. Holy Christ. Oh. Yeah, see, you just can't push it. You can't push it inside the house because everything you hit is going to stop the motor. Oh, fuck. Yeah, the it'll be a lot of chasing it around. And then yeah, outside, it's just gonna be, it's just not gonna have enough power. I don't know. This is interesting. It does seem like it's less slidey than the Mosquito, which is like a toothpick looking build. Nah, I hear the dog. I'm not gonna go up there. Whew! Oh, fart. Yeah, you just can't hit anything. Which is not great for me. Let's try something big, though. Oh, fuck. Jesus, it's so hard to line stuff up. Oh, my God. Oh, God, why? Oh, God, that was a nasty one. All right, and now it's against the wall, and that's that. You can't do anything if it's pushed up against something. Oh, Christ. And now the battery is all... Yeah, so having the battery rubber banded is not great because it's going to, like, shift all over the place. So, yeah, that little TPU battery holder is... It does kind of make sense, but Jesus Christ, it's way too heavy. Yeah, now the battery doesn't even want to sit flat anymore. Right, there we go. That's not too bad. We're at 1:38. Whew, boy. I'm super nervous because I don't want to, like... I spent a good amount of time painting these walls, try to get them right. Oh, Christ. And, like, there's a big old TV in here. Oh, wow. Okay, so, yeah, battery life is a little rough, too. 2 minutes. I wonder why the battery life is a little bit on the low side. Oh, I know, because it's heavy. Yeah, there's not a lot of prop obstructions, which is nice. You know, when you look at, like... When you look at the thrust side here, you only have just like the one arm blocking the thrust, so that's really nice. But it's heavy, you know, this is carrying around 5 or 6 extra grams from a tiny whoop. And at 20 grams, 5 grams is like 25%. And so you're going to get 25% less runtime. And I mean, that's pretty much what we're getting. Like 2 minutes versus we usually get a little bit over 3 minutes. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It seems to fly better though than the little tiny toothpicks that I've built so far. So that's kind of nice. I'm gonna leave this together, and then I'm gonna do that mosquito build, and I can back to back these things, head to head these things, and see if there really is a significant difference. I will, so that's going to get those 0802 30,000s. I will motor limit those down to the same level as these, so that it's a good, fair head-to-head test. And then, of course, I'll crank them up and see what it's like with a little bit extra power. So, yeah, I got to be honest, I had pretty low expectations, and it's better than I thought. It's more flyable in the house than I thought. I still don't think you should fly it in your house. And I know exactly what it's going to be like outside because I've flown underpowered rigs outside before and they drive me absolutely insane. The biggest problem with this is the weight, hands down. The weight is the issue. So if you're going to do one of these Bubito builds, really powerful motors are going to be a must. Really high kV. So like we're talking, so if you want to try to get, if you're going to try to not crash it a lot, I would go with the highest kV 702 that you can get your hands on, which at the moment is 32,000 kV, the Moon Travelers. And then 702s really only work on biblades. So get like 2 or 3 sets of those motors, because every time you crash into something solid, the bi-blade is going to rotate out of the way, and the motor bell is going to slam into concrete or whatever it may be. And that will just wreck a motor like in 1 or 2 hits. If you want something that's a little bit more durable that you can throw tri-blades on, hopefully at some point here there will be some 603 30,000 kV motors coming from tinywhoop.com. In the interim, though, you want the highest kV 802s that you can find, which at the moment is 30,000 kV. Oh! You would want these. You would want these Tiny Whoop Hex 0802 30,000s. Let's see if they're in stock at the moment. And yeah, you're gonna sacrifice a little bit of durability, but it's gonna give you the performance. tinywhoop.com store motors, Hex series, and 30,000. Looks like they are in stock. Yeah, so there you go. So at the moment, this is the motor that I would run, and I would get like 2 or 3 sets of these. Yeah, that's going to be your best bet for sure. If you want a little bit more, although that being said, your other option to try to get some durability back is the 1.5 mil motor shaft 802s, but unfortunately none of them are going to be really high enough kV. The snowblowers are 25,000. These iGal ones are 27,000. 27,000 is what you were just looking at, and that was pretty underpowered for the weight. It's going to be really important to get up to a minimum of 30,000 kV motors. So yeah, this is what I would run, and just get a bunch of them and just replace them all the time. Philo just says I run 18,000 kV 2S. On what? I don't know how you would run 2S on this. I guess you would just run a bigger rubber band and just rubber band down. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't many of these AIOs that'll take 2S for very long now. So I don't think 2S is the answer, especially because that's going to make this thing so much heavier. So yeah, I don't think 2S is the answer for this. 30+ thousand kV is almost certainly the answer for this to try to offset the incredible chubbiness. I'm gonna say, no offense. No offense meant whatsoever. No offense meant whatsoever. But in my head, I'm going to start calling this the Chubbito. All right, friends, thanks for hanging out. This has been a very long live stream, but that's okay because I love you guys. Be good. I'm going to fly this Chubbito around tomorrow and see how it is outside. And then we'll do that mosquito build, and we will compare them, contrast them, take a look at the different all-up weights, different flight characteristics. And then I'll probably never build one of these non-guarded tiny little rigs again. But that's okay, you know? You got to do shit to see if you love it or not. Here's a little bit more of the coverage from the NCL cycling race. Be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Hopefully this song doesn't suck. Have an awesome night. Oh. Okay. Well, okay. Later, friends. See you Friday. No, I won't see you Friday. See you maybe Saturday, definitely Sunday. No stream on Friday. Tell your friends. Later.